now watching I Shot Him 6 Times YouTube horror movie channel.
I shot him 6 times! What is going on, horror fanatics? Welcome to I Shot 6 Times YouTube horror movie channel. As you know, I'm your host and creator of the channel, Marcus, and welcome to the inaugural episode of the Late Night Creep, where I'll be doing my late night live streams, talking about various horror subjects, so on and so forth, touching on theories, just multiple horror discussions, because I can stream during the day and I can stream during the night, so because of my work schedule. So this is why I'm basically doing a late night live stream, because basically I work in the middle of the day. So it just works out better if I can stream early in the morning and late at night. And I know it is a work night, but I greatly appreciate anybody who stops in here on YouTube, leaves a comment, leaves a like, joins the conversation, as well as I'm also streaming on Instagram as well. So we're dual streaming tonight. It's going to be a fun time. Got a couple topics I want to touch on. Some Scream 7 related news regarding Neve Campbell and Melissa Barrera. Going to be talking about David Gordon Green exiting the Exorcist franchise and what's that's going to look like going forward. Marlon Wayans and the new Jordan Peele movie that's going to be coming out called GOAT, as well as a Saw 11 theory that I had to discuss with you all here tonight. So probably going to roughly go for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that. You know what I mean? Just hang out for a couple hours and just talk about some of these horror topics that I want to touch on. But again, if you haven't done so already, please shoot the stream in this episode of the Late Night Creep a like. It definitely helps out with the algorithm. Share it to all your social media platforms. Get the word out. It definitely helps out with the channel and helps with the growth a lot. And I will get to some of you guys' comments here. I know some of you, like I said, I'm on Instagram and YouTube. So I'm going to be looking here on YouTube and then looking over at my other computer, checking out the comments there as well. So I will do my best to get to everybody's comments the best way I can. But if you have a burning question that you want to ask, send in a super chat. They go to the front of the line. It is greatly appreciated. I will do the best that I can to get to all your other comments that are not super chatted. But again, super chats do go to the front of the line and is greatly appreciated. But it's going to be a fun time. These topics I'm going to talk about is definitely, some interesting ones for sure, especially with that late night topic that we got here with Neve Campbell supposedly is vying for Melissa Barrera to return to Scream 7. We're going to touch on that here in a few moments. But the first topic we're going to touch on is David Gordon Green exiting the Exorcist franchise. But before I get into it, I do want to acknowledge you guys in the chat. I greatly appreciate you guys hanging out here on this late night. It is greatly appreciated. What's going on? The Blood Rose Horror Nightmare. What's up, Nanette? If you're still here, I seen you commented at 12:30. I started a little bit later than I wanted. Was trying to figure out how to go live on Instagram at the same time as YouTube. It's a little bit different than it is on for StreamYard than on other platforms, like let's say Facebook. If I just press the Facebook icon and link my Facebook account, then I instantly can stream right to Facebook. Instagram's a little bit different. I basically have to have my other computer open so I can keep the Instagram tab open so that I'm going live there as well. Because if I close the Instagram tab, then it will cut the stream off. So that's why I was taking a little bit longer to get in here tonight. But I appreciate you guys' patience. It's greatly appreciated. Hey, what's going on, Kirsten Marie? Just seeing you over on Destin's channel watching on Thanksgiving. Was just listening in, putting some extra stuff here on the stream together. Glad that you guys enjoyed Thanksgiving. It's definitely a fun watch. It's a good movie. I'm excited for Thanksgiving Part 2. See what's going to happen. In terms of your second killer theory, Kirsten, because I was, in the chat, listening in when you were talking about that, getting a little spoily for Thanksgiving. For those who haven't seen it, you might want to turn back now. But I agree with you that I do believe there is more than one killer in that movie. just to throw that out there. And that's something that I'm going to be talking about here in the future when I get on to some Thanksgiving topics as well. Hey, what's going on? What's up, Eric? The Bearded Entertainment in the chat. What's going on, my friend? Hope you're having a great night. If you ain't doing nothing, man, if you're not busy, I can send you a link if you want to join. Eric saying burning the midnight oil. That's right, man. That's right. I'm happy, to get, my streaming and everything back together. I talked to you about this, Eric. So it's definitely cool to be back in here live streaming and cutting it up with you all. Oh, got my dog whining a little bit. she wants some attention. What's up, man? Hope you're having a great night. Glad to see you here. Thank you for joining. The Eric. That's funny. Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree, Kirsten. You, Larry, me, and Destin are going to have to get together for that. Do a live stream and theorize on that and talk about it. We'll have to see when the dates can line up so we can get together. Yo, what's up, Larry? Speaking of Larry, what's up, man? Thank you for stopping in. I hope you're having a great night, my friend. All right, so I'm caught up with everybody's chat. So let's get into the conversation here tonight, y'all. And Eric, again, man, if you're not busy, leave me a comment in the comment section and let me know if you want to jump on, man. I'll shoot you a link. And over here on Instagram, we have the Creative Goddess, and I see Nanette, you're on Instagram as well. That's what's up, Nanette. Thank you for watching me on both. I appreciate it. But the Creative Goddess has joined the comment section or has joined the live stream on Instagram. Thank you for joining. Just going to be talking about some horror topics here. Going to be talking about some David Gordon Green leaving the Exorcist franchise, some Scream 7 news regarding Neve Campbell is apparently trying to back up Melissa Barrera and trying to get her back in the Scream 7. We got some Jordan Peele news. Marlon Wayans is going to be starring in his new horror movie titled GOAT. And I'm also going to be sharing a Saw theory with you guys that I have regarding Saw 11. So thank you for stopping in. I greatly appreciate it. Leave a comment. All right, guys. So let's get into it, shall we? Okay, so over the weekend, we got the news that David Gordon Green has exited the Exorcist franchise. And now, originally, this was supposed to be a 3-part deal. Exorcist Believer, Exorcist Deceiver, and I forget what the third one was supposed to be titled, if they even gave a title for it. But originally, David had been signed on for a 3-part trilogy. And now that is no longer happening. And I believe that why that is no longer happening is because of the negative reviews. A lot of fans did not really care for the new Exorcist Believer too much. A lot of negative reviews on that film. And I must say so myself, I'm actually going to be doing my spoiler review, touching on it on tomorrow's episode of the podcast. But it definitely, you could argue that this was probably the worst legacy sequel made so far in terms of iconic horror franchise getting a requel, all that good stuff. This might be the worst one so far to come out. Like, I will get into it more, like I said, tomorrow. But what this tells me is that David, saw the writing on the wall. he saw that, most fans did not like this film. It did not do well at the box office, didn't generate much money. In so many ways, they wasted Ellen Burstyn's return. And there's also rumors. I was reading this on Twitter. Now, this is just rumors, but viewer Anon, who's a pretty credible source, I read a lot of his stuff. He went on to say that apparently Leslie Odom Jr. and David Gordon Green did not get along on the set. And that could also be a contributing factor as to why David Gordon Green decided to leave, the franchise. And who knows if that is 100% true? Who knows why those two guys couldn't get along? But it doesn't take away from the fact that The Exorcist Believer was just a bad movie. And I was talking about this the other night with Destin over on Destination Station in regards to the upcoming I Know What You Did Last Summer sequel that is going to be coming out. That is going to be directed. I can't remember her name full on. It's a long name and stuff. Maybe let me pull it up real quick. So I want to get this right. I want to get her name right because it's this situation with the I Know What You Did Last Summer remake is kind of, reminiscent of David Gordon Green with not only Halloween, but Exorcist. Okay. So Jennifer Caton Robinson is going to be directing the I Know What You Did Last Summer sequel that is in the works by Sony. And I discussed this with Destin the other night that I'm worried about that because I, did my research on her previous films, and it doesn't seem that she has done any type of horror movies. And she seems to have done projects that are very similar to what David Gordon Green does outside of working on horror. And the reason why that concerns me is for the same reason why I did not have much confidence in David Gordon Green successfully, rebooting The Exorcist, is because I want to say it's easy, but it's kind of easy to, have a successful Halloween film to a degree when you have Jamie Lee Curtis also in your ear, as well as John Carpenter there to throw you tidbits on what direction you should take and what to do and stuff. And we kind of got it a little bit firsthand in Halloween Kills, but we really got it in Halloween Ends and stuff that, I mean, nothing against David Gordon Green, but in my opinion, his style doesn't particularly translate well to horror. Now, obviously, he was more successful with Halloween than he was with Exorcist. I personally still think he did 2 out of 3 good Halloween films. Do I accept Halloween Ends more now for what it is than I did before? Yes, I do. I still don't really particularly care for that movie. And now you had him direct and restart The Exorcist, and it didn't go so well. And the reason why I feel like this movie really underwhelmed is, one, the original film was 3 hours long. There was deep storytelling in that, leading up to the events of the exorcism and all that stuff like that. There was a lot of layers to the original Exorcist, as well as I just feel like the Exorcist Believer didn't do anything fresh. It didn't do anything new. A lot of the stuff that we saw in the Exorcist Believer, you've seen in a lot of modern paranormal exorcism type horror movies nowadays. So he didn't tip the needle. You know what I mean? He didn't do anything that was fresh, reinvigorating. Like I said at the beginning of the stream, he in so many ways kind of wasted Ellen Burstyn's return. And I believe that he saw the writing on the wall. It was going to be very difficult for fans to buy in to another sequel directed by him for the Exorcist franchise. On top of those rumors that apparently him and Leslie Odom Jr. did not get along, that, that subsequently, I believe, just was the straw that broke the camel's back. He's like, you know what? I got these other projects I want to do. I'm out of here. It's not worth the hassle, not worth the backlash, so on and so forth. So, I mean, and I'll have to be honest. I mean, I kind of saw this coming. I said to myself, if the Exorcist Believer is not successful, he will not make it to the second film. It's almost impossible, especially when you announce that you're planning a three-parter and the first one of that three-parter doesn't do particularly well. There's not going to be a lot of fanfare even for the second one with you behind the helm. So, I mean, if him and Leslie Odom Jr. did have, beef on the set, that's really unfortunate, but regardless to whether they had beef or not, you can't change how the movie came out. You can't change how the fans perceive this movie. You can't change, the fact that it underperformed at the box office. You can't change any of that. So, I mean, it's a shame, that he won't be able to complete his vision for the Exorcist franchise. But at the same time, I do think it is safe to say that a lot of us fans aren't really particularly too worried about it. And I hate to sound like that say that because it sounds like I'm being a douchebag, but I'm just calling it for what it is. It's just like if Scream 5 would have underperformed at the box office, I highly doubt Radio Silence would have been back for Scream 6. Who knows if we would have even gotten Scream 6 if Scream 5 bombed. Prime example, Scream 4. Didn't do well at the box office. We didn't get another Scream movie for 11 years. So it's unfortunate, but now, the Exorcist franchise moves on. At least that's, possibly the thought anyway, because they did pull the release date for Exorcist Deceiver, which was supposed to be, if I'm not mistaken, I think they were trying to aim for early 2025. Yeah, I think it was supposed to be like around March 2025. They were supposed to release that, and now it's been pulled. So we don't even know if we are going to get another Exorcist film. I mean, they said they're searching for a new director. I personally would like to see James Wan take over. I'll explain more, in later videos and later live streams why I believe that that would be a great fit. I mean, The Conjuring is a great example, just for starters. But I have a feeling we're not going to see another Exorcist movie till possibly 2026, 2027. And who's to say if Exorcist 2, Exorcist Deceiver, if they're going to even pick up from the events of the first one? They might go in a completely different direction. So it's unfortunate, David Gordon Green is off of the Exorcist project. But again, given how poorly received Exorcist Believer was, I think it's safe to say that it's a safe move by David to go on to these other projects that, in my opinion, fit more of his style, what he likes to do in terms of dark humor, dark comedy, a little bit of drama, so on and so forth. I think that style works better for him. And I personally do not think we're going to see David Gordon Green do a horror movie for quite some time, if he ever comes back to doing horror again, period. And I say that because just like with Dwight H. Little with Halloween 4. And Halloween 4 was really well received or whatnot. But because of, issues with the studio, so on and so forth, he didn't come back for Halloween 5. And he didn't end up doing horror movies for quite some time after that. So, and that's why I made that reference as well as that director for the new I Know What You Did Last Summer remake is her credits in terms of what she does, what she has done so far, are very similar to David Gordon Green, in my opinion. And that's why it kind of worries me, because it's nothing against, these style of filmmakers, because regardless to what, they're filmmakers at the end of the day. They can try any type of project that they want as long as their heart is into it. But I just feel like if you are not used to doing horror movies, especially ones that have a particular method on how you create that certain movie, then I just don't feel like your vision is going to be that well received or, accepted. And that's, kind of sucky. I mean, everybody has their own opinion. There's some people who I know like Exorcist Believer, but at the same time, I just feel like if you're not consistently doing something that has something to do with horror, it's going to be a lot harder for you to create a horror movie, especially for the first time, second time, third time, fourth time, no matter what you're doing, no matter if it's just your own slasher idea or your own horror idea, or if you're picking up a big name franchise like a Halloween or an Exorcist. To me, as a filmmaker, you have to have some type of consistent work within the horror genre to be able to tell good horror stories, if that makes sense. So, again, unfortunate that David Gordon Green is, not going to be a part of the Exorcist franchise anymore, but we move forward and we see what happens for this franchise later on in the future. Leave a comment and let me know what you guys think about David Gordon Green exiting the Exorcist franchise. If you did get to see Exorcist Believer, let me know in the comment sections your thoughts on Exorcist Believer. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Did you think that David Gordon Green did a good job? Do you think it's a good move that he's not going to be directing the next one or any future Exorcist projects going forward? I want to know what you guys think about this because, again, I personally don't know if he's going to come back to horror for quite some time. It's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out for David Gordon Green in the horror genre. And if you happen to be a new viewer coming across this channel, I did see that we got a little bit of a spike in some viewers. Do me a favor, shoot this stream a like. It definitely helps out with the YouTube algorithm a ton. Welcome to the Late Night Creep Horrorcast. I greatly appreciate you guys stopping in on this late work night, hanging out with me here talking about some horror movies. It is greatly appreciated. Check Instagram real quick. Okay, so let me get to some of you guys' comments. And I see we have a $2 super chat. Our nightmare. Thank you so much for your $2 super chat, Nanette. I'm waiting for it to pull up now. There we go. Nanette asking, what are you looking for to seeing come out in 2024? Well, obviously, Saw 11 is probably at the top of my list, I would have to say. But the next movie that is really close to that is The Strangers Chapter 1. Because Rennie Harlan is directing that film. And apparently, much like I just talked about with David Gordon Green for the Exorcist franchise, Rennie Harlan is doing a 3-part trilogy to The Strangers. So I'm really interested to see The Strangers Chapter 1 and see what Rennie's vision for this franchise is going forward as well. So I'd have to say Saw 11, number 1. Number 2 would be Strangers Chapter 1. Number 3 would be Abigail from Radio Silence, and obviously that has Melissa Barrera in it. I just watched the trailer earlier on the podcast. I think it looks good. I see a lot of people saying that, it's very spoily. I mean, what trailers aren't very spoily nowadays? It's the modern day trailer. That's just how it is. I mean, unfortunately, we just have to accept it for what it is. But it looks very good. I've never been one who's really big into creature features, but I like vampires. So this definitely does have the potential to be a pretty good vampire film. And I'm interested to see what Radio Silence has cooking up with that movie. I think it's going to be a fun time. Man, Man, is there any other like? I don't think we've gotten any other like big name horror movies that is like in terms of like known franchise. Oh, my apologies. I lagged out for a second. But yeah, I know we have some like newer horror movies come out. Is that Mickey Mouse movie coming out this year? I don't think it is coming out this year. But I know they're doing a bunch of Disney stuff. I think maybe Blood and Honey 2 might be out this year, but I'm not really too looking forward to seeing any of those Disney type of movies. Um, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what's coming out for the rest of the year if we get anything else big name that's going to be announced. But my top three are Saw 11, Strangers Chapter 1, and Abigail as of right now. I talked about it earlier. I did watch Night Swim and I just really didn't care for it. I thought they could have done a way better job with what they tried to go with that film. But I digress. But again, thank you for your $2 super chat, Nanette. I greatly appreciate it. And great question. 2023 was a big year for horror. So it's not like I'm going to say 2024 is going to be a down year, but you got to think so far we don't have as many big name, especially in terms of iconic horror franchises coming out with movies this year like we did 2023. I mean, you got to think we had Scream 6, Evil Dead, Saw 11, you know, we're getting, Saw 11, Saw X. We're getting Saw 11 this year, but we're probably not going to get another Scream film until 2025. Probably not another Evil Dead film until 2025. I know Thanksgiving isn't getting done until 2025. So I'm not saying 2024 is going to be a down year for horror, but what I am saying is that there are going to be some newer horror films that maybe not be getting a lot of fanfare, fanfare, a lot of fanfare, a lot of notoriety that might actually rule 2024. So we don't have a lot of big name horror movies coming out this year, but I do think there's going to be some horror films that make a name for themselves. I mean, we do have Terrifier. That's right. We have Terrifier coming out this year. How could I forget about that? Everything seems to be coming out in 2025. That's probably why it slipped my mind for a second. But Terrifier, Terrifier 3, that's definitely on the list. So that's 4 right there. Saw 11, Strangers Chapter 1, Abigail, Terrifier 3. And in all honesty, Terrifier 3 is actually higher up on that list, but I just threw it in there at the end because it just crossed my mind. But I'm really excited for Terrifier 3. I love the story of part 2, and I think they are on to something there for this third one. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But again, thank you for your super chat, Nanette, and thank you for the question. That was a really good question. What's up, Half Cheetah Will View? Thank you for stopping in. I hope you're having a great night. Thank you for joining me here on this late night and the inaugural episode of the Late Night Creep Horrorcast. I greatly appreciate it. Did someone mention IFC Midnight Chat? Oh, I suppose so. Yeah, that's right. I see, man. You said Maxine. I'm going to click on that here in a second. Nanette saying, I didn't think David Gordon Green would do a good movie for The Exorcist Believer, and I was right. It's boring and too much of a drama movie than a horror movie, and I didn't like drama movies for most. Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. again, the biggest Achilles heel for me is that it just didn't break any new ground. It didn't do anything different. It did a lot of what we see a lot of exorcism movies do. Excuse me. And it just totally wasted both Ellen Burstyn and Linda Blair's return. Even though Linda Blair showed up at the end, spoiler alert, just letting you know, and stuff. Yeah, it's unfortunate. It really is, because when the trailer came out, I was like, okay, it has potential, but it has to be done right. And it just wasn't done right. And on top of that, they gave away what was going to happen in the trailers in terms of who was going. Oh, one of them is only going to live. Only one survives, or however they termed it in the trailers. So you gave away the ending. Like, you just didn't let us know which one was going to die. That's it. But you gave away the ending. You basically told us one of these girls is going to die before we even got to watch the movie. So, and I agree with you, though, Nanette. I wasn't too confident when it was announced that he was doing it. And unfortunately, we turned out to be right in our assumption and our thoughts. But it happens like that sometimes. I do wish him the best, and I hope, whatever projects that he's going to be doing moving forward, it's nothing but success for him. Man saying Maxine as well. Yeah, that is right. That is right, Maxine. That is right. Maxine is going to be coming out this year. That is one thing. They definitely, like, X, Pearl, and Maxine, like that. From Ty West is definitely blown up for sure. Those are good movies. I'm interested to see what's going to happen with Maxine. See how that plays out. That's another one that I did kind of like slip my mind. It's because I got spoiled with all the big name, like the iconic, well-known horror franchises, making a comeback in the last year. Yes, 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 man. Man saying I watched Malum last night. Really good. Yes, it is a really good movie. Absolutely. Malum is a very good movie. Definitely not talked about enough. Hey, what's up, Harmony? Thank you for stopping in. It's good to see you. I tried to get a hold of Bob earlier, to see if he wanted to come on, and I was gonna have him shoot you a message because I don't know what your Instagram name is at the time anymore, and I was gonna see if you both wanted to be a part of the stream, but I assume Bob is busy, so we'll definitely have to link up soon and do a live stream and chat together. I miss you guys. Hey, what's up? What's up, Flet? What's going on, man? I hope you're having a great night. I mean, Flet, if you ain't doing nothing, man, you want to stop in, you know what I mean? Let me know. I'll shoot you a link. I know you're a couple hours behind me, so I know it's still a little bit, the night is still a little bit young around your way in Canada. So let me know, man. I appreciate you being here tonight. Yo, what's up, Dom? I hope you're having a great night too, man. Shoot me a message too, Dom, if you want to join as well. You guys know I'm always down for some company. Hey, what's up? What's up, Brandon on TV? Thank you for stopping in. I greatly appreciate it. Saying Jesus loves you all. That is absolutely right. I hope you're having a great night, man. Thank you for stopping in and greatly appreciate it. And if you guys haven't done so already, please shoot this stream a like. It definitely does help out with the YouTube algorithm a ton. It helps out the channel, helps out with the growth, gets the channel more notoriety, so on and so forth. Have Cheeto Will View says Abigail has been done before. House of Salem. I've never seen the House of Salem, but I will say that I am picking up Dracula's daughter vibes, and apparently I'm onto something with that because somebody said something earlier in the podcast stream and had mentioned that basically this is I'm assuming the direction that we're going to be going with Abigail. I guess she's going to be Dracula's daughter. So I'm down for it. I'm definitely down for it. I'll have to check out House of Salem and see what that's about. I'll probably do a watch party touching on that before I watch Abigail and then maybe do a live stream comparing the two or something like that. You just gave me a good idea. So we'll definitely rock out. Dominic saying, I'm excited for this new VHS film. Man, I like the first VHS, but then it's like the rest of them, I don't know. Just they don't really do so much for me. But that's what's up, though, man. What is the new VHS film about? Is it like a slasher? Is it supernatural? Like, what's going on with it? Huh. Okay, well, we're gonna have to see what's going on with good old Bobby boy. Harmony saying I had to stop by and I haven't heard from him in a while now. Huh. That's interesting. That's I had to check up on him. But thank you for stopping by, Harmony. That's what's up. I greatly appreciate it. And like I said, I miss hanging out and talking. So we're definitely, sounds like a plan. Yes, we definitely got to get together and do a live stream and talk some slashers, just talk horror in general, just like we're doing tonight. Yeah, it does. It looks like a lot of fun. I love that score music in the trailer. Okay. Have Cheetah Will View saying House of Salem is a small British indie film. They came out a few years back. The twist is pretty amazing. Okay. Check it out. The new one is supposed to take place in the early 2000s. Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. That might be something that I might actually be interested in watching because that's, around, my young boy years. So, okay, Nanette. Nanette saying House of Salem is on Tubi, Freevee, Amazon Prime Video, and Vudu for free, Marcus. Okay. I'm going to have to check it out. We'll have to do a live watch party. All right. So now that I'm caught up with all you guys' comments, I'm going to be moving on to the next topic at hand that I want to touch on. And that is, according to Critical Overlord, as you guys know, Critical Overlord is a well-known YouTube content creator, and he posts a lot of stuff on Twitter. Is really tied into the horror community and all that stuff, sources and all that good stuff. He dropped a video, but he first posted this on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. So shout out to you, Critical Overlord, if you happen to end up watching this stream at any point, or if you get a clip from this stream, just giving you your flowers, giving you your respect for reporting on this. So here, I'm gonna blow it up here. Okay, so according to Critical Overlord, and this is a few hours ago, Spyglass is rumored to have met with Melissa Barrera once again. Neve Campbell had a hand in this alleged second meeting. Hashtag Scream7. Okay. Now, that's interesting. And the reason why that is interesting is because, in so many ways, in my opinion, Nev's comments on the studio basically, coming back to Scream 7 under the right circumstances, I wonder in so many ways, is she not only talking about getting pay, the pay that she deserves, but is she also talking about the studio mending the fence with Melissa and bringing her back to Scream 7 and finishing this story that they had planned for Scream 7 and this dynamic between Sidney and Samantha Carpenter? And the reason why I believe that, could be what's happening is because Neve Campbell herself, now, she may not be backing up Melissa to the degree that many of fans want her to in terms of speaking out against the studio, and some fans don't even want her to do Scream 7 because of what happened to Melissa, which I think is kind of outrageous. But she's backing up Melissa in her own way. And it's quite interesting that she's the one who set up this supposed second meeting between Spyglass and Melissa, because not only does that tell us that she is backing up Melissa and wants Melissa to be in Scream 7 and believes that there is a dynamic and story there for both of these characters to be told in the 7th film, but this also tells us that Neve Campbell is basically, like, in so many ways, because she even said this, I'm standing on business. Like, this isn't just about money. This is about respect for women, respect for women in the film industry and our talents, so on and so forth. So not only in so many ways does this tell us that she is standing on that business, but it also tells us that she might not return for Scream 7 if the studio doesn't make things right with Melissa. That's a very big possibility. And it also tells me that if she's setting up the interview, if she's setting up the second meeting for Melissa with the studio, then that tells me that Neve Campbell is in deeper talks with the studio for Scream 7 than we probably know. That stuff doesn't happen unless you're really talking to the studio. It just, in my opinion, it just doesn't. Especially given how Spyglass treated Neve, you would think that Neve, being that apparently the rumor was that Gary Barber feels like he doesn't need a Neve Campbell or a Melissa Barrera or a big star to make good money off the Scream franchise. But the fact that Neve is the one who is setting up the meeting, that tells me that they value her a little bit more than what themselves, Spyglass, is leading on. Because they're desperate. It's most likely out of disparity. But if Neve is the one who's putting this together, and she's the one getting the studio to talk to Melissa a second time, then that tells me that not only Neve does she want to come back for Scream 7, but she wants Melissa to be there as well. And she might not do Scream 7 if that doesn't happen. Why would she do that if Neve Campbell felt like Sidney's story could be completed without Melissa Barrera, without Samantha Carpenter? Why would she go out of her way to do this? I think it's pretty obvious. I think it's pretty obvious that Neve, not only is she willing to come back, but it has to be on the grounds of, you're going to pay me what I'm worth, and you're also going to bring Melissa back into the film, because this story and this direction that we had planned, I believe in it, and I want to go through with it. So it's just really interesting, guys, like what she said about, her comments about Scream, and about coming back to Scream, and that she's going to continue to stand up and fight for women in movies and stuff like that. And now we get this piece of information from Critical Overlord. At this point, I'm going to say it here now. It's either they pay Nev and get Melissa to come back, or Nev won't come back for Scream 7. I am genuinely now inclined to believe that even if they pay Nev Campbell what she once paid, if Melissa Barrera isn't rehired, she still might not do it. So, an interesting new development for Scream 7. It's again, it's a rumor and stuff like that, but the source is very credible, and we're gonna have to wait and see how this all plays out. And I will say this: the fact that Spyglass was willing to listen to Nev and give Melissa a second interview, does it make up for the mistake that they created and the mess that they created to begin with? No. But you have to give them credit where credit is due, because they could have told Nev, no, we don't have to talk to her. We don't want her to come back. We don't want it. We washed our hands with that. We're solely focused on you coming back, along with Patrick Dempsey, along with Courtney Cox. We're not worried about Melissa and the Core 4 no more. We're moving away from that. The fact that they were willing to listen to Nev Campbell and give Melissa a second meeting regarding whether she could be rehired for Scream 7, you got to at least give them a little bit of credit and a little bit of love for that, because they could have easily said no. They could have easily just said, okay, whatever, especially if the rumors were true that Gary Barber feels like he can make a Scream movie without the stars. Again, could it be disparity? Most likely it is disparity. But you know what? If they are desperate, if they are this desperate that they are willing to listen to Nev Campbell and give Melissa Barrera a second meeting, that tells me there might be a possibility we might get what we all want, which is Scream 7 not only coming out, we get Nev back, and we get Melissa back. If she hears the right words from the studio, it seems like Nev is trying to squeeze him and make that happen. So, fingers crossed, because I personally don't want to see this timeline get messed up. I really don't. You've already started Scream 5 and Scream 6. You meshed these new characters in with the old characters and added them into the timeline. I don't want to reboot from somewhere else, because at the end of the day, as a fan, in the back of my mind, I'm always going to be like, okay, but where, what happened to the Carpenter sisters? What happened to the Core 4? Remember, as long as Samantha is alive, it's just like with Sidney. As long as she is alive, at some point, she's always going to end up being hunted by Ghostface. That's why I don't want them to mess this up. Don't mess up this timeline. Finish the story. Whatever story you were trying to tell with Scream 7 and with this dynamic between Sidney and Samantha and their stories running parallel to each other, let's make it happen. So again, fingers crossed, we're going to have to wait and see. It is probably most likely a long shot that Melissa Barrera does return for Scream 7. But the fact that Nev is the one advocating these meetings and setting it up, that's a positive sign. That's a positive sign not only for Melissa Barrera, but that's a positive sign in terms of Nev Campbell possibly returning to Scream 7. Because then that tells me that she is having more contact with the studio than we know. in regards to this new Scream 7 movie. So see what happens. It's going to be interesting. I see over on Instagram we got Haru Loves Harmony. Hey, what's up, Harmony? I'm glad that you guys, some of you guys are both, joined on Instagram and you're joined here on YouTube. That's amazing. I greatly appreciate that. You know what I mean? All the love and support that you guys provide, it's just truly amazing. See, Flet is on Instagram as well. Thank you, my friend, for joining in here on the Instagram stream as well. Mrs. Carter's Movies Thoughts join. Hey, what's going on? I hope you're having a great night, Mrs. Carter's Movies and Thoughts. And I hope you're enjoying the stream. Just talking about some, some Scream 7, some Neve Campbell. Talked about David Gordon Green exiting the Exorcist franchise. I'm going to catch up on some of these YouTube chats, and then I'm going to move on to my next topic, which is a Saw 11 theory that I have. So I will say this, guys. If you have not seen Saw X and do not want to be spoiled on anything Saw X, you might want to leave the stream now because I am going to get into some spoilers in regards to the next film. And I don't want to spoil it for anybody who has yet to see the film and wants to see the film. All right, checking out some of you guys' comments now. All right, cool, Dom. I'll send you the link now, man. Just give me a second here. All right. Dom, check your messages. All right, let me get back to some of you guys' comments here in the chat. Harmony saying, right now I'm hope off so I can get stuff ready for Saturday for my grandpa's funeral. Oh, I'm sorry to hear about that, Harmony. I'm sorry for your loss. That's not cool. That's never fun. My prayers are with you and the family, girl. That's rough. Hopefully hanging out here tonight, I know it doesn't, completely help all the way with, the loss, the hurt from the loss of a loved one, but hopefully hanging out here for a little bit, take your mind off of it to a degree. Nanette's asking, and can I do a live stream watch party when you do it for House of Salem? Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, we can definitely plan for it. What I'll probably do is probably schedule it for right before when Abigail comes out. So if Abigail comes out, February or March or whatever, it's going to still be a little bit before we do it, but I'll get it set up ahead of time so we can get some good promotion on it and stuff and watch it before Abigail comes out. I mean, Have Cheetah Will Review says Melissa needs to apologize for her terrible comments about Gaza. I mean, listen, it's just a fucked up situation, with that whole war. You know what I mean? It's a sad situation, and all we can hope for is that it comes to an end soon. You know, I'm not gonna be the one who sits there and tries to tell somebody how they should feel about a certain situation. Everybody feels how they feel regarding that situation, and all you can do, you don't have to agree with it, but you got to respect it and move on, and stuff like that. I personally think that regardless to what, we've seen and heard a lot worse from other people, and they didn't lose their jobs over it. And whether you agree with that or not, it's just a point. Like, you don't have to agree with somebody says, or agree with their views, you know what I mean, and stuff, but they shouldn't lose how they feed and support their family. You know what I mean? Regardless of what it is, whether you're an actor, whether you're a restaurant worker like I am, regardless to what. You know what I mean? Like, I've heard way worse things said in the kitchen. That's what I mean, and stuff, and that's just being honest. But again, hey, everybody feels how they feel about it. And you're entitled to feel that way. I ain't gonna hate on you. And I have a knock at the door. What is going on, my friend Dominic St. Clair from Dominic St. Clair Studios? What's up, buddy?
What's going on, man? How are you?
Oh, not too bad. Thank you for joining me here on the stream tonight, man. Just touching up on some horror topics. Just busting it up, man. Like I said, with my work schedule, this is just the best option right now is to do a live stream in the morning, do a live stream at night, so it caters to the audience in the best way that it can. Some people can catch stuff in the morning, some can catch it at night. You know what I mean? So just trying to get back out there, my friend.
Man, that's good, man. Yeah, just keep up the grind and do what you got. Do what you do, man. Keep up the good work.
Absolutely. How's your night going though, man?
No, that's good. I was watching the John Wick movies. I was trying to catch,
Nice.
chapter four. Um, so I need to catch up to that, and then I was watching Ghost of Mars with Ice Cube. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
there's a
laugh at that. I laugh at that because our friend here in the community, Carrie Crave Cinema, that's where she got my nickname Ghosty from, was the Ghost of Mars.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah, she dubbed that for me like almost 2 years ago. So every time somebody brings up Ghost of Mars, I just can't help but laugh because it's just like, oh, Carrie.
Yeah, it's a fun movie, man. I know it was directed by John Carpenter, so it's
Yeah,
Carpenter.
that's right.
Yeah,
The
and it was like
man.
the, the only like it's interesting because Ice Cube working with John Carpenter, like I think it was like the only time he worked with him, you know. But yeah,
Still a hell of a collaboration.
yeah. I mean, this was Ice Cube because the thing about what Ice Cube is that like he was in other stuff like Anaconda and
Yep.
more stuff. But most of the stuff he was in like drama, action, and all that. So it's interesting to see him in like kind of in the horror space in some ways. Um, I think it's interesting. So, but yeah, it was a fun movie.
Oh, it definitely is a fun movie. Ghost of Mars is a good one. It's an underappreciated gem. So, Dom, before I move on to the Saul theory that I want to touch on, what are your thoughts on David Gordon Green leaving the Exorcist franchise? I don't know if you watched the new Exorcist. If you did, let me know your thoughts on it. As well as what are your thoughts on Nev Campbell? Basically, from what it looks like, is she's fighting to get Melissa back in Scream 7. What are your thoughts on those two topics?
Well, for the Exorcist Believer, I have not seen it. I only
Okay.
seen the trailers, and all I know is that there's two young girls getting possessed, and now you got to deal with an exorcism with these two girls, I guess, and that's what I saw in the trailer. So that's kind of like
Right.
what the plot probably is going to be about because I've never seen it. But um, when it comes to David Gordon Green, I don't think like I like the new Halloween trilogy.
Hmm.
You know, I know a lot of people really don't like the only film in that trilogy they like was the 2018, like the first one that came out in 2018.
Yep.
Uh, and some people will say like Kills is like the second, and then their least favorite's Halloween Ends. But I didn't think I don't think he did a bad job. I think he did some creative, ideas with Danny McBride and all that for that trilogy, and I think that was really cool. So when it comes to like something like the Exorcist, um, I always say like you're never gonna top the original.
No.
It's so good. Um, and it's kind of ballsy to do a new one. You know,
Yeah.
there's like there's been like five movies, um, pretty much telling the same story. Like it always ties back to the original.
Right.
Uh, this one also does as well, but I just can't see how you can top the first one. It's just I don't know what you can do.
Right.
Um,
It's hard, man, especially like I said, what made that original one so great, in my opinion, was the deep storytelling before we get to the exorcism. It was a slow burn, an ultra slow burn, but you liked it because it made you pay attention, especially with the Captain Howdy and the Ouija board and the storytelling. You slowly see her starting to turn and stuff like that. Everything was really well paced, and it was a 3-hour movie, like damn near. So you're basically asking in so many ways, no matter who does even if David didn't do this one, Believer, you're asking them to reboot from the original that was 3 hours long in 2 hours. That's an hour worth of content that they're not going to be able to publish out there. They could have had a different idea for him. Maybe David had something different, but he had to, water it down to what he got. But I just, I don't know, man. His style for what he is, and I like him as a filmmaker for what he mainly does. You know what I mean? I agree with you that the Halloween trilogy was good. I may not be the biggest fan of Halloween Ends, but do I accept it more than I did when it initially came out? Yes, because I understand it more. I just wish there were certain things I wish he would have did differently in terms of the Corey Cunningham character. Like I like Corey. That should have been what's his name? Cameron, in my opinion. Because then you got that deep storytelling starting from 18 all the way to ends by having Cameron be the Corey Cunningham. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. I I wish they would have portrayed Michael a lot better. But do I accept it and do I see what he tried to do with that? Yes, and it was different because in so many ways he was basically saying it doesn't have to just be Michael Myers as the shape, as the boogeyman. It can be anybody. So I definitely get it from that regard and stuff like that. It's unfortunate, man. It really is. It's unfortunate because I don't care if you don't think that person will do well on a certain project. You should hope that they do. You should hope that they exceed our expectations. You know what I mean? It's just unfortunate that with The Exorcist Believer, a lot of fans didn't really get into it. They didn't really fucks with it. And it's a shame because now he's not going to be a part of the next one, which is why I don't know if we're going to get Exorcist Deceiver. You know what I mean? Because this was supposed to be David's story. You know what I mean? This was supposed to be what he wanted, his vision for the Exorcist franchise, and now we're not going to get it. You know what I mean? I will say I would like to see James Wan take over, but we'll see. You know what I mean? What is your thoughts on Nev Campbell?
So yeah, with Neve Campbell, if you go through the timeline, right? With Scream 6, right? We were also upset that Nev was not going to be in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But she was supposed to be in it, but she turned it down because of the rate she was going to get, and a lot of fans were upset. But then it ended up turning out good,
Yeah.
anyways, right? Because everyone loved it, because they were more attached to the Carpenter sisters and the core four and all that. So everyone was like, okay, we can stick with these characters, right? So now with Scream 7, and now hearing these recent news about Melissa, Barra, about how she got fired
Yeah.
at uh, Sam for the next one, and then Jenna Ortega signs on because she's like, screw this, like you fire her, I'm gonna fire myself, because I ain't gonna do this next one without her. And now we got the news you guys or you shared about how Nev is coming into the back end and talking to the studios again and saying, "Hey, bring uh, Melissa back, right?"
Right.
And she plays a role with Sam. We continue that story and the core four, and then possibly, bring me into the fold as Sydney, and we cross paths together, and we end up finishing this little story arc with the Carpenter sisters in the core four.
Right.
I think that's a good idea, because if you stick with those characters and to the point where you complete their arc, then you can move on to like something else,
Right.
like move on to a new story, or you can just finish off Sydney's story, like the actual finale of her story, you know, in another movie later on, or just start a new, like, new characters and new people, and y- and I think that's from Ned's part, it's very smart. It's very strategic because she
Mm-hmm.
knows, like, that the fans want um Sam back. They want to see Sam again, and of course Jenna Ortega, and at the same time wanting Sydney back. So she's like, I'm gonna pay fan service to the fans, and at the same time I'm gonna get this paycheck. So I
Right.
think that's a double whammy. Or it's like knocking two birds with one stone type situation,
Yep.
which is very smart on her part.
It is. I agree. I like how you said that. It's very strategic. And it is very strategic because I think that Nev senses that they're desperate now. They're desperate. They created a mess for themselves that didn't need to happen. You know what I mean? It didn't need to happen this way at all. Regardless of how you feel about Melissa's comments, that didn't need to happen. Like, it didn't need to. You know what I mean? You could have just, you know what I mean? Hey, listen, you know what I mean? We don't agree with what you had to say. If you can, just dial it down a little bit. You know what I mean? We still want you to do the movie. Now let's move on. You know, again, I don't feel like somebody should have food taken off their plate over something that they said, regardless of whether you agree or not. So they're desperate, man. It makes me smile. It does, because they deserve this. Spyglass deserves this. You know what I mean? Now, Nev, in so many ways, she's got him by the throat. She's got him where she wants him. Because not only do you desperately want me back, but now, in so many ways, I desperately want Melissa to come back. So if you want me, you got to take both. I'm really getting that vibe from, that piece of information that Critical Overlord provided on Twitter. Again, everyone, it is just a rumor. That's what's being said out there. Doesn't mean it's 100% true. But if that rumor is true, kudos to Nev and I think she's going about it the right way. But most importantly is because she's sticking by what she said, is that she's going to continue to stand up for other women in the movie industry that are getting slighted, and stuff like that. So kudos to her, man. She's an amazing person for real, man. Like, because she doesn't have to do that. She doesn't have to. She's choosing to, and I think that she should be commended for that, man. All right, so let me get to some more of you guys' comments. I know I'm a little bit behind, so I'm going to catch up here. Agreed in that. Agreed. Marcus, will you send me a message when you get done talking about Saw X? Yes, I can do that. All right, Harmony, will you enjoy the rest of your night, girl? And again, I'm sorry for your loss. You will be in my prayers along with the rest of your family. You know, like I said, just, keep your head up, girl. And, know that we all love you here. And if you need somebody to talk to, don't be a stranger. Hit me up. And that's good. I'm glad it can lighten your mood. Even if it just lightens your mood, that's awesome. That's a positive impact. That's right. Ghost of Mars. The Video Master 64. Hey, what's going on? Thank you for stopping in. Saying my favorite horror characters are Michael Myers, Mark Hoffman, and the Tall Man. That's a great list. The Tall Man don't get enough recognition, in my opinion. But Mark Hoffman, Michael Myers, yeah, those are definitely G's for sure. That's something that's going to be interesting too for Saw 11 is what are they going to do with Mark Hoffman, because when Orrin Knowles spoke about Saw 11 a couple weeks ago and kind of gave us an update on where they plan on taking Saw X, they basically implied that John and Amanda are still overseas. So I don't know if we're going to see much of Costas Mandalore in Saw 11 either, but obviously that could change as we get more details coming out. But Mark Hoffman's the man. The Video Master saying, I love Halloween and Halloween 2 and Halloween 3 and Halloween Ends. Okay, yeah, Halloween, the original course classic, Halloween 2 is great as well. Halloween 3 is underappreciated. It's definitely grown on me over the years. Halloween Ends, like I said, not my favorite, you know what I mean? But hey, that's what's up. Listen, even if I don't like a certain particular film in the franchise or in any franchise, as long as other people like it, good, because then that means we're going to get more content out of that franchise. Just because you might have a hiccup or two in the eyes of, certain public, of certain public, people from the public, I should say, doesn't mean everybody feels that way. There's a lot of people who like Halloween Ends. So there's nothing wrong with that. M saying, have you heard anything about the new Final Destination film? That is something that I got to catch up on. I know that they are making a new one, but that's about it. What about you, Dominic? Do you know anything about the new Final Destination film that's supposed to be coming out? Any news on that?
So with that one, I have to be keeping tabs on. Nothing new right now. So far, what we know is there is a new one coming out, and it's about firefighters and EMT workers and people on the line of duty, facing death every day, and a group of those types of people are going into like a burning building, and someone within that group gets a premonition, and then they save everybody, and then uh, and that's pretty much what we know about of the premise. But what has been confirmed, there's actually a leak that came out, and someone took it down. I think maybe New Line took it down or whatever, where they said that Tony Todd and Devon Sawa were coming to reprise their roles as Alex and as William.
Nice.
And they announced a while ago, New Line Cinema confirmed that Tony Todd is coming back as William Bloodworth. So I wouldn't be surprised if they announced that Devon Sawa was coming back, because in the leak they said those two characters are coming back. So, but that's
Let's
all we
go.
know.
That'd be tight. Bringing back Alex Browning. That'd be tight. I never liked how they killed him off in two. I don't even think he was killed off. That to me was just a joke. Like I never thought that he was dead. How I thought that play. I said, okay, they did that to just write his character off. But how I always looked at it was that that could have easily been somebody else who died. His character should have never been killed off. So it's good that we're getting him back. Now we'll ask you this before we move on. Have you seen Saw X?
Yes.
Okay. So, do you think that they are going to reveal in Final Destination that he never did die? That basically he just faked his death to kind of like get away from everything?
Well, and this is interesting, right? Because they implied that this movie is set in a new world. Now we can
In a
take it
new
in.
world.
Yeah, apparently that's what they said, right? So people were
Hmm.
speculating and they were saying, what does that mean? And people were saying, oh, we're switching sides, where you used to watch like the people that were regular citizens, right? People that weren't in the front lines fighting death. That we're gonna see these people that we're gonna stick with that are always fighting death, like every turn. Or a new world means it's a whole other universe where the Flight 180 crash never happened, and Alex and everyone else made it to Paris, and this takes place like how many years later? 50, 20 years later, and
Wow.
Alex is older, and he ends up getting involved in this whole thing. So now this time when he faced death, he was older instead of him facing death when he was younger back in 2000. So that's what people were speculating. So and it could be something like that too. If they meant a new world, as in we're looking at people that are on the front lines, then and they bring Alex back, then they can
Mhm.
go by your take on it, where it's like he faked his death, so then he can stay hidden and off the radar from people, so people don't try to like arrest him or try to put him in harm's way where death can get him. They can go any way with it, you know.
Right. That's going to be interesting, man. I can't wait for that, especially with Devin Sawa coming back. I, I'm so happy for him to see him on this renaissance with the Chucky TV series, and now he's coming back to Final Destination. That guy deserves it. He's always been one of my favorites. All right, to get to some more of you guys' comments before we move on to this Saw theory that I have. I I think that's very possible, Video Master. He says, yeah, I think Alex faked his death to trick death. I mean, that's kind of what I was thinking too, and it's not impossible. You know what I mean? That could be the story that they tell us. But I'm not gonna lie. I kind of like what Don was talking about in terms of like Flight 180 never happened, and now we're picking up from this different story, or this is happening in like a different universe or something like that. I think it has a chance to be unique and different and get fresh with this franchise, which is something it needs because to me, ever since the second one, and I like the third one with where's it? Mary Elizabeth Winstead and Ryan Merriman. I liked that one, but I just feel like ever since that one, it's just like the same thing over and over again. So hopefully they do inject some new life into Final Destination, because Final Destination, especially the first three, are some good movies, if you ask me.
Yeah, I agree. And when it comes to like, you know, from 3 to 5, they definitely started a gimmick with the whole concept of Final Destination, where every film is like the same premise, where somebody gets a premonition, they escape death. Now everyone
Right,
that was around them were supposed to die. Now they're getting killed off, and that's what happened from 3 to 5. Don't get me wrong, 4 is a guilty pleasure of mine. I think 5 is actually better than 4. I think it's a step up from that because it's a prequel,
right,
and we never knew it was a prequel because we thought it was after 4. And then at the end, they get on the plane, and it's Flight 180, and then we see Alex and everyone else in the first movie, and then we all know what happens then. So
right.
I thought that was really cool. That's what stepped it up for me for above 4, or yeah,
Okay.
above. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm excited. It's like I said, 2023 was a big year for horror. It's not saying 2024 won't be, but I just feel like there's going to be a lot of movies, horror movies, that are going to make an even bigger name for themselves if they haven't already. I mean, we don't have Scream, we don't have Halloween, we have Jason coming out in TV. I mean, but we don't have the iconic, like outside of Saw, we don't have the iconic, big names coming out this year. It's more about the more newer age, the Strangers, the Maxines and stuff like that. So hey, but either way, I'm excited for them all. You know what I mean? The more the merrier, because we need some new names to take over horror. I think Terrifier has done a great job doing that, but how much more does Damien Leone want to do before that starts to, dry out? You know what I mean? So it's gonna be interesting, man. But it's gonna be a good year. I think it's gonna be an even better year than what some are predicting, because, like I said, 2023 was a big year, so a lot are probably expecting like a how can you say it? How they put it in wrestling terms, the ratings are going to be down. I don't think so. I think 2024 is still going to be a year to talk about for the horror genre for sure.
Yeah. And there's and like so far as we know, um, there probably still more horror stuff that's gonna be coming out this year that we haven't been knowing about and haven't been
Right.
announced yet.
Yeah, you make an excellent point. You make an excellent point, my friend. All right, so now I'm going to move on to this Saw 11 theory that I have for our antagonist. Yes, I said antagonist. Now, one would think I'm talking about John Kramer, but I'm not, or whatnot. So I'm going to warn you guys again. If you have not seen Saw X and don't want to be spoiled, you might want to leave the stream now, because it's about to get a little bit spoily up in this bad boy, or whatnot. But if you haven't seen Saw X yet, I don't know what's going on, but you need to go watch it. I mean, it's a baller ass movie. They did such a great job. But okay, so our antagonist, Cecilia Peterson. We know her to be the one to scam John Kramer. She's the one who put everything together, who lied about curing John Kramer, so on and so forth. Put John Kramer in one of his own traps. Easily, in my opinion, is probably the best test subject that we have gotten so far, because she actually challenges John in a way that we've never seen before in the Saw franchise. And we know that she lives. She lives at the end of Saw X. Now, my theory is that John anticipating her living, and that basically Saw 11 is going to be the second part of Cecilia's game. I think her game is a two-parter. I think this first one in Saw X, that was just a trial period. The second one, Saw 11, we gonna see her tested again or whatnot. And the reason why I believe that is because what John said to Parker when Parker was all high and mighty and feeling himself, he told him, she's gonna burn you. You just don't see it yet. What that tells me is that John anticipated Cecilia. He anticipated Cecilia winning her game. And what did John tell Hoffman all those years ago? If you're good at anticipating the outcome, you leave nothing to chance. So I think that John anticipated that she was going to win her game and live. But that was part of his plan, because what the grand scheme of things is to go after her dad. Is to find her dad. Because remember, her dad's supposed to be in hiding. Her dad is supposed to be in hiding from the big pharma companies. Now, one would ask, well, why would he go after her dad now? Why didn't he just do that in Saw X? Well, you got to get to the one that's a little bit closer, because the dad is supposedly in hiding. Now, the reason why I think he's going to go after the dad, Finn Peterson, this guy right here, is because you don't go 8 years, and I'm talking about Cecilia, you don't go 8 years scamming people, talking about your dad's cure without him knowing, in my opinion. He had to know what was going on. So I think in Saw 11, what we are going to see is Jigsaw, John Kramer, and Amanda Young go after him. But we might not even see, I want to say this, we might not even see him until like the final part of the movie. Like, they going to save his game for last. And that's going to be kind of like Cecilia's last test. But I believe that they're going to test Cecilia again, because Orono said that John and Amanda, they're still overseas. Now, why would they still be in Mexico? Why would they still be in Mexico if her game's done? If her game's done, there's more to this story. Saw X was just a first parter to this story between John Kramer and Cecilia Peterson. I think that what they're going to do is they're going to head to Norway in Saw 11, because that's where they're from. They're Norwegian. So I think John's going to find her dad, probably have Hoffman look into his information like he did with everybody else. He going to find out where her dad is. They're going to capture her dad, but they ain't going to reveal that until the last part of the movie. That's probably going to be like the final act. You know what I mean? She thought that she was done. You know what I mean? Because you would have to think, in that room, the doors had to have opened when she won her game. Everything had to have locked. So I'm thinking that maybe when she goes to leave, boom, that's when Amanda or John drugs her, does whatever, and then she gonna wake up somewhere in Norway, and then we're gonna start a new game. And everybody who helped her dad with this skin, everybody who's been involved with this, the people at the top, that's who John's going after. Because Cecilia wasn't the main one. Her dad's the main one. The cure started with him. So now I think that in Saw 11, we're going to see John go after her dad, but we're not going to get that reveal until the end. This is going to be a whole new game that Cecilia has to play. And subsequently, Cecilia is going to have to choose whether she lives or her dad lives. I think that's going to be the final game and the final test. I really do. And another thing is, though, too, that I have in my mind is that even if Cecilia wins her next game or whatever, Amanda's going to kill her. Amanda's going to build a trap for Cecilia that she can't win. This is going to be the first trap that Amanda built that the test subject could not win. I talked about this in my video a couple days ago because you saw it in Saw X. You know what I'm talking about, Dom. There was moments where Amanda was defiant of John. And if it wasn't for Amanda, Gabriella would have still been alive. Because she's the one who made Mateo go ahead of Gabriella. If she doesn't do that, Gabriella gets driven to the hospital and she lives. It's Amanda's fault that she got killed. John could hold her responsible. This is another thing we could start seeing that side of Amanda that we seen in Saw 3. Saw X was the beginning. Saw 11, we gonna see even more of it. You know what I mean? So I'm excited for Saw 11, man. I'm excited to see where this dynamic between Cecilia, John, and Amanda go. I really do believe that the dad is going to come into play in this one. I don't see why you would keep them overseas if that's not the plan. You know what I mean? To me, if you don't introduce the dad in this one, it's kind of leaving a big plot hole because he was the creator of this cure, that was created. So I think this is just one big ass story that they came up with that took place before the events of Saw 2 and Saw 3. And all that is going to tie in to also why John decided to test Amanda in Saw 3. Saw X and Saw 11, to me, is serving as the story, not just, this side story with John Kramer, the side story between John Kramer and Amanda and the events leading up to why John stopped trusting her. Like, what do you think about that, man? What do you think about that theory? Do you think that could be the possibility how Cecilia and her father, that whole theory, how is that going to play out that way?
Well, I hope so because
I hope so.
because the way that they ended it was yeah, Cecilia, she survived.
Right.
She survived at the end. She killed her boyfriend, her partner in crime, and John and Amanda and don't forget about the kid. Remember the
Yeah,
kid?
man. Bro, you know how badly I wanted him to be Shank
Mm-hmm.
from Spiral to tie that in? That is one thing about Saw X that irks me to my core. It's like, man, that was the perfect tie-in. Why didn't you take advantage of it? You know what I mean? Especially with how that dynamic played out on the bloodboarding scene. Man, that would have been a cool tie-in. You know what I mean? But that was definitely Carlos. You make a great point.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I thought like when they show pictures of John and the kid, right?
Yeah.
He was a young kid and he was Hispanic, just like Shank, right?
Actually, I found this out. Shank is not Hispanic. He's Italian.
Okay, he's Italian. Okay.
Yep.
Good. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So that's what because I always thought like Shank was Hispanic. So
Me too.
when I saw the kid, I was like, and he was there and he did the trap with John, and the kid was always pulling the lever, you
Yep.
know, and he was strong, right? He was a strong kid, and he was a survivor, like
Right.
like John and everything. So you expect him to be inspired by John to be able
Right.
to create traps and get people to put them in the traps and all that stuff. That's why in Spiral he ended up taking on the whole entire precinct and taking those guys down and all that stuff. But turns out it's not him. It's a different person that
Right.
it's there. But to kind of uncover that, um, I would say definitely continues Cecilia character
Mm-hmm.
into Saw 11 and use her as a bait so they can draw the father out of hiding in Norway.
Yep.
And that way, like you said, at the end he shows up, and then in the final act, maybe they could end it where they find out where he is and they go to
Right.
him and all that stuff, and and then you see him in a trap with like four other people, and it
Yep.
cuts, and then it
All,
goes,
all, all of his doctors.
yeah, and then it cuts there, and then that's the next movie after, and I think that will be a good way to like tie that in, you know.
Let me ask you
And
something. Do you think this will end up being a three-parter?
I think so. I think it should be because it could get Cecilia, because Cecilia is a villain, man. She's like a
Yeah,
super villain, and the way she was acting in Saw X,
bro. She was awesome.
yeah,
Come do the scary voice. I want to play a game. That shit had me dying, bro. I was like, yo, she's crushing homie right now. I'm like, wow, like I did not expect that at all. Sanavi Makodi Lund did an amazing job in that role.
and because the thing about John, right? I always thought John was sympathetic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you watch if you watch all the Saw movies, right, you start to understand where John is coming from and how
Yep.
he became who he became. So I always feel sympathetic for him, and I understand like why he's doing what he does, even though there are certain things that he does to like for certain people that is a little out of line. But I think it's all because of his delusional like insanity. But when it
The
comes to
God effect.
Cecilia, yeah, and when it comes to Cecilia, she's not like him in that way. Like
No.
she knows she's evil, and
Like she
she
says, she
does
has
it
no
with
moral
intention.
code.
Yeah, she does it with it in moral and intention. She knows what she's doing is wrong, but she does it anyways. You know, so she's a true villain. I think she's more of a villain than John, in my
Oh,
opinion.
absolutely. Absolutely. You know, you're talking about a woman who sat there and scammed $8 million out of multiple people saying that she was going to cure them. And then when she turned around to be when she's turned out to be the villain that she is, she straight up says, you know, you want to know what I thought watching all those people die? More, less money to split with these people. Like, more money for me.
Hmm.
I don't care about watching him die. That just when she went and put her foot on Gabriella's neck and snapped it, it just shows you how cold and callous she is. I mean, that woman, she is what you call a true villain for sure. And I'm excited, man, because that's a dynamic we've never seen in Saw leading into this move, into this one. Like we've seen people be tested that did some shitty things to where you could say, okay, I can see why he tested them, but it wasn't that serious. You know what I mean? This one, oh, she's serious. You got to do something with her. Like she's no joke, and that's something that I read on Screen Rant that one of the article writers. I want to get your opinion on this. Their idea for Saw 11 is that being that she is the villain, she goes after John. She goes back home because she's got resources, she's got money, and she basically gets a group of people to go after John. What do you feel about that? How would you feel if Saw 11 played out that way to where Cecilia is the hunter and not the hunted?
I think that they can go that route because she sees like that type of person that will not let go of things. If you
Oh,
look at it,
no.
she looks like you did this to me. You
Yep.
come, you waste my time. You put me out here with all these people, and they all died. And yeah, I get some money, but you just wasting my time. And you put me through hell. Like
Right.
I ain't gonna let that slide.
Try to
I'm coming
kill
at
me. In so many
it.
words, you try to kill me. You made me kill my boyfriend so I could survive. You know what I mean? Like, I I think it could work. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I think it would be interesting dynamic to see somebody coming after John Kramer for once. But I think the best option is to go in the route of this game ain't over. I mean, the poster even said it. The game continues. So now we're getting the second part of this game, and now we're on the hunt for Cecilia's dad. I just feel like that would make a lot more sense because it all started with him. There is no Peterson project without Finn Peterson. So now you got to bring the dad into play, and now we got to see him get tested too and stuff. And maybe, just maybe, get some clarification. I mean, like I said, I'd like to think the guy knew what his daughter was doing. But then maybe, just maybe, he didn't. So that could create an interesting beef and dynamic between between father and daughter. You know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting, man. I'll be honest with you, Dom. I did not expect Saw 11 to come out so soon. I didn't expect them to. I thought that if we were going to get another Saw film, they were going to take a year off and then come back in 2025. But it does make sense because Tobin's getting up there. So you got to strike while the iron's hot. And I personally do think that this could be a 3-parter. And the reason why is because if John and Amanda are still overseas, right? Well, the ending of Saw X takes place in the States. It takes place in the bathroom. Is that going to be the beginning of the movie? And then we see John and Amanda go back to Mexico? Or are we going to completely ignore that until the end of the movie itself and then watch Henry's game play out maybe as like, because that was the post-credit scene. Maybe we get this as the actual ending to Saw 11, that game, and maybe some other stuff from that bathroom might come into play. You know what I mean? Because I just don't understand why John would come all the way back to the States, grab Henry, do what he's got to do with Henry, just to go back overseas. Not knowing if Cecilia is still going to be in that building or not.
Yeah. You know
You
what?
know, so
Yeah, I think that the movie starts overseas and the whole movie's overseas, and maybe for some reason, you know, they don't end up finding out where the father is, right? Yeah, I'm just taking it a little different. They don't know where the father is, right? And because Cecilia might have died from the trap or whatever, whatever, right? So they're like, oh yeah, who else? Who else that we know that's involved in this can help us track the father? And it's the Henry dude.
yeah,
So they go back to the States, they capture him, put him in the trap, and they try to make him talk. And maybe that's the end of the movie. Like that's the trap, and then he talks, and then all that stuff. Maybe that's the route they can go down. Who knows? Like
right,
it's up to speculation, man. They could either they go because you're right. Like how are they gonna try to continue this route with Cecilia and her father if they if they go back to the States, what's the point, right? So
right.
I agree with you on that. Yeah, it's kind of weird that they would do that and then go back to Mexico and stuff like that. I think it's just a waste of their time when it comes to traveling. you know.
Yeah, hell yeah. Waste of money. And he already is 250K down.
Yeah. And you know what's interesting? Just to sum up Saw X,
Mm-hmm.
um, Dustin talked about it a little bit. Like he said, he was a little. I don't want to say disappointed. He was a little disappointed that there was no big twist, right? And and
Who, me?
no, Destin. You know, but
Oh, okay.
yeah, so
Shit,
he
Cecilia was a big enough twist for me.
yeah, yeah. No, she was a big twist, but like he said like there was a big twist when it comes to the connection to the previous Saw movies. Like,
Yeah, yeah, I can agree with that.
yeah, but my thing was I wasn't really disappointed because this movie takes place in between Saw 1 and Saw 2, right? So I wasn't
Right
ex-
after the event to the bathroom.
yeah, and I wasn't expecting to get a bigger twist than what we got in Saw X, so I wasn't really disappointed in that. And it kind of this movie reminds me of, you ever seen the Wolverine with Hugh
Yeah,
Jackman? It kind of reminds me of that because Wolverine goes to Japan, and he's
yeah.
dealing with the story there, and that kind of reminds me with John. He travels to Mexico, he's dealing with his story there and all that. I just want to mention that. But
No,
yeah,
that's actually a very good point you made because there is a lot of similarities to that. Now that you brought Wolverine up, yeah, that there is a lot of similarities to that. Because Wolverine in that movie, his whole point was he wanted to know what it was like to feel death. John, obviously, in this movie, he's dying. So there's definitely some parallels between those two movies, and that was great you brought that up.
yeah,
I never looked at it that way.
yeah,
Oh, I can't wait.
yeah, man.
September. I I love summertime, but I'm ready for September. I'm ready for it all over again.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. And I also heard they're trying to see if they're gonna make another Jeepers Creepers movie. Um, and
Yeah, I heard about that too.
and my thing is, I don't know what they're gonna do with that because I think like because the Jonathan Breck will always be the creeper to me. He's number one when it comes to the creeper for me because he does it really really well, and the makeup is the makeup's really good on him, and we're so
Right.
used to his face, you know. So I would like to see a sequel to like two, because remember JP3 takes
Mm-hmm.
place in between one and two.
Yep.
So I like to see two, or not two, four, or no, not four. Jeepers Creepers 5 take place after two, where you see the older sister. She's older, and now she's at the bar.
Yeah. They were supposed to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah, they were supposed to do something like that. It never happened.
yeah.
Yeah, Gina Phillips. Yeah, she was supposed to come back for like a sequel that focused on her, and they never did it. I don't think. No, they didn't do that, right? I thought she came back for one of them because it's been a while since I watched 3 and 4.
So she came back at the end of three,
There we go. That's right.
and I just want to say this real quick about Jeepers Creepers 3. I liked that movie because what it does is it ties one and two together. It explains how the creeper went from the end of one to the beginning of two. Because remember, he had his truck in Jeepers
Yep.
Creepers 1. He didn't have it in two. And so, like, what happened to his truck? In three, they explain what happened. Like, he abandoned it because he was at his last days, and he everyone found out his weakness, and so he's just like, man, I don't have time to drive around this truck. Like, I gotta bolt. I gotta find like my last meal, and that's when he finds the bus, and
Yep.
he takes the bus. So I thought that was a good transition to tie in one and
When
two.
you think about it in terms of tying it in, that was a cool way how they tied that in. I haven't seen Reborn yet. I'm actually going to do like I'm going to actually do like one of those videos where I watch the movie, but I'll like edit it down and stuff and react to it. I'm I've heard a lot of negative things, but I'm gonna give it a shot. We'll see what happens and go from there. I love the original Jeepers Creepers movie. Part two, I like Ray Weiss. Like I don't know. I just felt like when they went to the whole bus thing, it took away the ambiance and the creepiness of what made the creeper so special in the original.
Mhm.
They showed too much of him for me. In the original, you saw him, but you didn't see him. Like there was, you know what I mean? Like the way they did it in the first one, to me, it's a classic, and they did it right. But I just never could get into the rest of them like I did the first one. But as a horror fan, I'm always open to newer installments because, again, not every single installment, even if the last couple ones you may think have been not that great, this new one might not turn out that way. This might actually turn out to be good. So I'm gonna give Jeepers Creepers 5 a try. Is who's directing that one?
So it's interesting. They said that they're trying to reach Victor Salva, but they said that they're eyeing for a newer director that is more in the horror expertise type of director, like
Right.
either James Wan or Leigh Whannell. Like they're looking at those types of people.
Man, Lee Winnell directing the Jeepers Creepers. That would be interesting.
Yeah, and so they're looking for those types of people. Um, and the thing about and this is I know it's a little controversial, but I just want to mention real quick about Victor Salva and his um his whole thing with the pedo stuff. I'm not gonna try to uh
Right.
but this is how I view it when it comes to Jeepers Creepers. I always separate the art from the artist because I feel like the art is when it is within itself. You know,
Right. I agree with that.
yeah, if someone created it, yeah, but the art is standing by itself as it is when it was created, when it get created and it's there. It's not attached itself to the person. It's just, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's how I feel, because you got there's some directors that are just even actors, just like Edward Norton, like he was an ass on nobody liked him, right?
Right.
But there are people who still love the roles he plays, you know.
Absolutely.
So because they don't look at him as Edward Norton, they look at him as the Hulk, like Bruce
Right.
Banner, or maybe in Red Dragon when he played that detective. They
Will
that
Graham.
yeah, and those are good examples of like separating the art from the artist because you don't have to like the person in order to like um the art, because the thing is that if we don't separate those two things, then we're going to be miserable, and we're going to be just hating on something that's actually really unique and really
Right.
creative, something that's really good, because how we never really seen a creature like this.
No,
We
we
never
haven't. He's like a gargoyle. That's why I liked him.
Yeah, and we never seen something like that. And the fact that we got those movies, and especially with the first one, and there's a lot of people that love it, but then when the whole Victor Salva thing came out about the pedal stuff,
Hmm.
um, everyone just like was demanding that he won't be involved in the whole franchise anymore, right? That's
Right.
why they got reborn, and a lot of people were not liking that movie because they didn't do it right. Apparently, that's what they say. They didn't do it right, and The only person that can do it right is Victor Salva himself, because he knows the movies, he knows the character and the story better than anyone else. Now,
He created it.
I'm not saying that James Wan can pick it up and do a Jeepers Creepers movie. I think he will do a good job because he's very experienced in horror and all that, and I'm pretty sure he watched the movies and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Victor Sala, he's the one who created the franchise. He knows it better than anyone. So I wouldn't mind if he comes back and writes and directed because I think he'll do it right, just like he did with the first one.
I agree. I agree. I think that his vision for the first one is the direction they always should have kept it at. You know what I mean? Like the way that he shot and created that movie, the way the creeper was in that movie was top notch. He, like I said, he showed him, but he didn't show him. He kept that mystique about the character. Like that shot where he's at that distance and he's fucking biting the tongue out of the fucking head. One of the creepiest scenes I've ever seen in a horror movie, period. Like, that's creepy as fuck. It's stuff like that that really makes the original stand out to me. Yes, do we get a up close and up close look at his face and we see his wings and all that? Yes, but for the majority of that movie, you barely saw what he was. To me, that's how it should be approached. We don't need to see him in his face or anything every single kill or every single attack. Just like in the lady's yard. He looks like a damn scarecrow. You can barely see his face. That shot right there, like that's vintage to me. That's vintage Jeepers Creepers. So if we could get back to that, oh yeah, let's go.
Yeah, and also just to mention and too real quick that they were doing it right at first because when the creeper shows up, he's throwing his knives and his sharp weapons at tires, but we don't see him throw it. We just hear a pop. And
Right,
like with that, you pull it out. The second time he does it, we see him, but you don't see his face. We just see
right.
him running in the cornfield, and he throws it, it pops again, and then he just instantly takes the coach up in the sky. The flare drops, and then he picks up the other coach. He picks up the other coach, and the final coach that he picks up, you only see his legs and his feet grabbing him on his shoulders and like trying to pull him up and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's freaky, man.
Yeah,
That's
man.
scary because you don't see him. You don't see him that whole time as it's happening. You just see
Right,
parts of it, his legs, and then just instant quick cuts of like him grabbing somebody, instantly going up in the air and stuff. But then as the movie progresses, you start seeing more of him and his face and all that.
yep,
So that's where I can see it kind of, slips the whole mystique away.
right. It just, I mean, I know somebody else did Jeepers Creepers Reborn, and Victor Salva was trying to sue them over that or something like that. I know there was a whole big deal about that. And according to fans' opinions, Jeepers Creepers Reborn didn't do so well. So maybe it is time to hand the keys back over to the master. You know what I mean? Like, he's the guy who created it. So let him finish his vision. You know what I mean? I may not like what he has personally done, but like you said, we have to separate the art from the artist. It's just that simple, you know. But yeah, damn, that was damn sure a great conversation about Jeepers Creepers, man. I'm interested to see what 5 is gonna do. Is there any word? Is Gina Phillips gonna be a part of that one?
So they haven't announced about her coming back. All we know is that they're gonna make a 5, and they said they're gonna ignore Reborn, and they're gonna try to continue after uh 2.
Okay.
He's still gonna kill
That's interesting. Okay.
you. And
Okay. You piqued my interest now. That's interesting. Let's go. You know what I mean? Let's see what happens, man. I just hope that they would get Gina Phillips back. You know what I mean? That would be an interesting dynamic to see how that plays out, man. Because I feel like she deserves it to come back for a whole movie, not just be in the ending of the film, and then we don't get a follow up to that. You know what I mean? Like, no, she gets that she deserves to have her movie. Hell, bring back Justin Long too. Just give us you can give us flashbacks, a little de aging. You know what I mean? Show him there like you did in 2.
I will.
Fucking love Justin Long. He's amazing.
Oh yeah, he's a great actor, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's great, and just I would like the thing about what they can do in 5. Maybe they do a scene where the creeper consumes eyeballs, heads, and stuff. What if the creeper has Derry's tattoo on his
Whoa.
like around his body somewhere, and she took it,
Bro.
and it's like what? Like he took the tattoo and put it on him.
Bro, I would love that. That would be nuts. That would be a nice homage. And then, fucking Trish sees that shit. That would be nuts. It would also kind of like imply Derry kind of turned into the creeper, even though we really know he didn't. It would still be like a nice implication to that. Like Derry's a part of him now.
Yeah.
Damn, that's a great idea, man. Shit, they need to hire your ass for the fucking writing crew or something. Like, fuck. Like, shit. I like that idea.
Yeah, if they ever hired me to write and direct a Jeepers Creepers 5 or whatever, and it's taking place after 2, what I would do is I'll bring back Trish and the dad from 2, and they both work together, and
Right.
they try
Ray
to take down,
Weiss.
yeah, and they try to take down the creeper once and for all, and they use the what you call it, they use the hand to find out how to kill the creeper. They find out how to do it, and they end up killing the creeper, and they think it's over, right? But turns out there's more of them. It's not just one. There's multiple ones in each country around the world that are feasting off of people. It's just that they've been planted in those certain parts because they knew that it's more ways to consume people. You know, that's kind of my imaginative thing at the end where you killed one, but you didn't kill them all. There's
Right.
the creature still lives on. You know,
That's interesting, man. Well, I will say this, man, and we're gonna have to keep up on this. Maybe this will, be our little gig. But I'm gonna definitely start looking up more stuff on Jeepers Creepers 5 and see where it's hitting for. And did they say is it going straight to DVD? Is it straight to streaming? Movie theater? What's going on?
there's no confirmation yet on
No
that.
confirmation yet. I didn't think so. It's all right. We'll find out once we get there. And I'm not gonna lie, you kind of got me a little bit hyped for Jeepers Creepers 5 because I would like to see what they do with it picking up after the events of the first 2. That would be pretty cool. Get to some more of these comments here. The Video Master 64 said, I think Saw 11 will be a sequel to Saw X. I agree. And I think Saw 12 will be a sequel to Saw 7, Saw 3D. Well, Dom, I'll let you go first on that. What do you think about that? Do you think basically the John Kramer story from Saw X and Saw 11, it will end in Saw 11, and then Saw 12, we will pick back up after the events of Saw 3D? What do you think about that?
I think I think that would be good because remember we mentioned don't forget about Dr. Gordon.
Yep.
because Dr. Gordon at the end of 3D turns out to be an apprentice
To
to
Jigsaw.
yeah,
He's been
Jigsaw.
around since the second one.
Yep. So him, and two other pig mask people. It wasn't revealed who those two other was, but we can speculate that maybe one of them was Logan, and the other
No,
one.
they did actually reveal it. They just didn't reveal it on camera, but it was, I guess, the producers came out and said it was those two guys in the beginning of Saw 7.
Okay.
But you can retcon that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because those, to me, I don't know why you would even make it them anyway, when to me, they, nothing against those actors or those characters, they hold no value.
Mhm.
They don't hold any value in terms of like a shocking reveal, none of that. To me, it should have, to me, who should have been under the pig face masks, and I'm going to die on this hill until they prove me otherwise. But under the pig face mask should have been Adam and Logan.
Mhm.
Because I don't believe Adam's dead. You know what I mean? That's just my take on that. You know what I mean? So it should have been Adam and Logan. That would have made a ton of sense because Logan was the original first accomplice, and then Adam would have served as the big fucking shock reveal that nobody saw coming at the end of that film. And that would have been great. And they can still do it if they were to pick up after the events of Saw 3D, Saw 7. They could still reveal Adam to be alive and as an accomplice to Jigsaw as well. And to me, it would be a really nice touch, especially if this is going to be the last Saw film in the franchise. You know, maybe outside of Spiral. Maybe we get a second story to that. But I'm talking about in terms of the John Kramer storyline. That would be a beautiful way to send off when you have the original two test subjects of the original film fuck around and turn out to actually be the ones carrying on his legacy now.
Yeah.
That to me would be so tight.
And I think it will come full circle.
Yes.
Because it's like the whole point of John Kramer's reasoning of giving these people tests is to make them appreciate life.
Right.
So, you know, what you call Dr. Gordon, he learned he appreciates life more. What and Adam, I'm pretty sure Adam does too. If he's still alive, I think he'll also appreciate life because of what he went through.
Right.
And now he wants others to go through it so they can appreciate life even more. And I think that will be coming full circle because they're both together again for the first time in how many years? Like 20, like 19, 20 years.
Yeah. And yep, in the same movie. But see
So
how I would do it though, because I feel like they left the door open for it, is that Adam has been helping since maybe Saw 4. And the only reason why I say that is because that's when we start seeing those photos show up that look very familiar to the ones that Adam took in the original. The framing, everything. And if you want to, if people want to say, hey, Amanda could have took those photos, Hoffman could have took those photos, what's her name, Jill Tuck could have took those photos. Hey, if that's how you feel, I respect that. But then I look at it from a standpoint, okay, Amanda and Hoffman, they couldn't be the ones because Amanda was catering to John 24/7. Hoffman had to cater to John and cater to being a cop. Jill had to cater to John and cater being a worker at the clinic. There's no time. There's no time for them guys, for either of them to be out there snapping pictures of every test subject that they're going to test. Who does have time, though, is the guy who's the fucking photographer in the first place. And that's Adam.
yeah. And also this is everyone's defense when it comes to Adam being dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
So everyone says we see Adam's body in Saw 2, and then in Saw 3, they say we see Amanda kill
Kill
Adam,
him.
suffocating him. But they don't. But here's the thing that I also believe that he's still alive. They cut away from it.
Yes.
They don't show. They don't show Adam like falling all the way down, like his body's loose because he passed. He died. Because when someone dies and you kill them, right? I'm not saying kill them, but like you know, if Amanda was strangling him or like suffocating him and he dies, he would have been limp and he would like fell over like to the side. But they didn't show that. They just cut away from it. And
Right.
we never see the full death. We just see like her just trying to suffocate him, and then it just cuts to another scene.
Right. And this is what a lot of those people fail to mention is that when Amanda leaves the room to go down to the bathroom to finish Adam off, John is awake. When she checks on John, his eyes are closed. When she turns her back and goes to walk out that door, the camera pans back over to John and his eyes are open. Who's to say John didn't follow her down there and intervened?
Mhm.
You know, as soon as the camera cuts, that's when John opens the door and he's like, Amanda, like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, and that's the funny thing is, too, is because they don't make no mention in Saw 3 of her killing Adam. They mention, John mentions her thinking that she killed Eric Matthews, but he never brings up her killing Adam. I wonder why that is.
Mm-hmm.
So, Video Master, I'm with you that, I mean, hey, Saw 12 could be a potential sequel to Saw 7, Saw 3D. I do think they do need to make a sequel touching on those events because that's another thing. Hoffman's still alive. He's still alive in that bathroom. Just because he's left in that fuck, we got to think about this. How long was Adam in that bathroom, starved to death? Physically depleted, and he was still alive.
Mm-hmm.
So, man, there's so many possibilities for this franchise to go in. I like what they're doing now, especially giving Tobin his flowers, but there's still some other ideas that you can do for a Saw movie outside of Tobin being in it.
Yeah. And I believe that Mark Hoffman is alive as well
Yep.
because he survived a trap. He survived a bear trap in
Yep.
Saw 6, where he was literally trapped. He couldn't do anything. But his escape was hitting his hand over and over again with the bear trap to loosen it.
Yep.
So he can slide out, and then he's trying to take it out, but he can't take it out. And then he looks around, smashes his head in the window. The bear trap opens, but doesn't open all the way, and then he pulls himself out, getting out
Yep.
of that bear trap. Who's to say that he would do the same thing in the bathroom? In
Right.
the same bathroom. I believe
Well, he
he would.
tried to with the saw. Remember?
Yeah,
He was going to cut his own fucking foot off with the saw, but Gordon took the saw away from him.
yeah. But also, there's other things in that bathroom he can use.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the toilet head that Matthews used.
Yep.
Bro.
Because like, and he would know too because he knows everything.
Oh,
Like
hell yeah.
he knows that Matthew hit his ankles with the toilet seat because he's limping. And
Yep.
remember,
Wow, that's a good observation.
yeah, and remember he's in the same trap with Eric Matthews, and he
Yep.
has he has a limp, and he put a cast on him and stuff. So he knows that, and he came from the bathroom. So he knows that Eric Matthews was able to escape without using the saw.
Yep. Man, that's a hell of an observation right there. Fuck, that was good shit, man. That's really true. And it's going to be interesting, man. I want them to finish out the story they're trying to tell for Saw 11 and Saw X and Saw 11, but I would still definitely like them to do a Saw film that touches on the events after Saw 3D. You know, I would love for them to still do that because Gordon's still out there, like you said. Hoffman's still out there. You know what I mean? There's so many possibilities, man. So many possibilities on what you can do going forward without Tobin Bell. And I just feel like one thing this franchise has done is it's always kept its mainstay crew together. Even if it's not James Wan or Lee Winnell, it's the people that was with them on the first film. Darren Lynn Bousman, Kevin Gruder, David Hackle, all those type of guys. Like those guys, like to me, in terms of like director consistency, Saw might be the most consistent franchise in horror history. Because even though it's not James Wan and Lee Winnell, it's the same crew. It's the same crew that worked with them since the original. That's why, in all honesty, even going back looking at Jigsaw, I can honestly say now, Saw has, to me, not one bad movie. I even appreciate Jigsaw a lot more now because I look at it a lot differently than what I did before. Even Jigsaw, you can pick up with a story. Who was that picking up Eleanor Bonneville at Jill's barn? Who was in that truck? If that's supposed to be Jill Tuck's family's farm and nobody else is supposed to know that area, well, who knows it enough to be out there driving at that particular time when Eleanor Bonneville is looking for a ride?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's definitely some plot holes that the franchise needs to sum up. The same goes for Spiral. Who's helping Shank? Like, you know what I mean? Like, because I don't give a damn what anybody says. That motherfucker can do all that by himself.
No,
There's no.
I think he was not alone because here's the thing: it's hard enough for him to be able to get into the precinct and pretend to be a cop because
Right.
the thing is like he's always around cops. How's he able to do all these things when he's around his partner? He's around other cops in the precinct. Like
Right.
it's he can do only so much. You know,
Exactly.
to the point where it's like, man, like how am I able to do this while I'm over here surrounded by a bunch of people that are cops and I'm with my partner Chris Rock. Like, there's certain things he can't do, and he has to have somebody helping him
Right.
to accomplish other things. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, before I move on, and we are going to wrap it up here soon once we get done with this last topic. But before I move on to this last topic, talking about Jordan Peele's new movie and stuff like that, who do you think was Shank's accomplice in Spiral?
That's a good question. Um, I would say because it's been a while since I've seen it.
Right.
I know there was other cops around.
Excuse me.
I think his accomplice would be that one cop that was hating on Chris Rock.
The big
Forgot
boy.
Big Boy.
Yes. The one who kind of reminds you of Hoffman a little bit.
Yeah.
Yep. I know you're talking about.
He's hating on Chris Rock, and and the thing is, Shank, in all honesty, doesn't really like Chris Rock's character because remember Chris Rock, yeah, he turned him in and everything, right? The cop that shot his father,
Yeah.
but in that moment when he shot the father, Chris acknowledges that the kid was there. Shank was
Right.
there. He saw
Yep.
it. And Chris knows he saw it, but he tells him to be quiet about it.
Shh. Be quiet. Yep. To cover it up.
So so Shank knew Chris was also guilty. So, I'm pretty sure he knows he's a good cop, but he also knows he's guilty. So he doesn't really like him that much, because of, his involvement in the cover up.
Right.
So but Big Boy, he also doesn't like Chris Rock. So there's a connection there, between those two. They
Right.
both don't like his character.
And he was the only cop not targeted.
Yep.
He was the only cop who was not targeted.
Hmm.
Well, I shouldn't say that because the one the black guy cop wasn't targeted neither, but he wasn't even really like important like the big boy cop was. Like he was a main part of why the police department hated Chris Rock's character Zeke.
Yep.
So I'm in agreement with you on it. I forget his name, detective. I forget what his name is, but I'm 100% on board with that theory that he could be an accomplice. I also think it has to be somebody from the past. Who knows how to build those traps like that?
Yep.
And for all we know, because we don't know if Hoffman's out yet or whatever, it could have been Hoffman to help him. Hoffman knows the police department. He knows all the shady dealings. He knows all that. And think about this. When Shank's dad gets killed, that timeline of his dad getting killed lines up with Saw 2's events. It took place in 2005, meaning Samuel L. Jackson's character was the head of the police in the original timeline. See, there's so many directions that they can go with it. You know what I mean? Like this, I love this franchise. I love talking about it. I do.
And yeah, like I said, they can get away with those types of stuff because they can fill in the gap. Um,
Yeah.
because bringing Hoffman in, because it does make sense because he was a cop. He worked with John Kramer. He knows the ins and outs of the police station and the
He
precincts and
helped
all that.
kill all the other cops.
Yep. And he knows how to create traps.
Yep.
So,
Mind
and
you, traps that are not meant to win.
yeah, yeah. And a lot of people say like, oh, but Amanda was the only one that only does unwinnable traps. But no, Hoffman also does unwinnable traps,
Yep.
especially the one for the his sister's
Yep.
boyfriend.
Seth Baxter.
Yep. Yep. And so he also does unwinnable traps. And so just to know like not only that these killings of these officers are related to the crime or corruption and the precinct and everything. The only person that can be able to know these things and access these things is Hoffman because he has the resources and capability to do that because he was trained to do that.
I agree. Man, we just fucking basically unraveled this whole shit. We just went on a whole unraveling spree of the Saw franchise. Let's go. I love it. Hey, what's going on, Wayne? Glad to see you here, my friend. Hope you're having a great great night, a great day. I know it's different in your time area, my friend, but it's just the point that you are here and hanging out at this late hour. It's 3:25 in the morning here on the East Coast. We are about to wrap it up here in a few short minutes. I do want to touch on this last topic, but before I do that, I do have to go, as Destin likes to say, use the little boys' room. So I will be right back. Dom, if you want, just entertain the chat or whatnot. You know what I mean? Talk about whatever you want to talk about real quick, man.
All right, sounds good. So, sorry, I'm gonna turn my fan on. It's getting a little hot in here. All right. So, guys, it's nice to see everybody here, and I'm glad we're talking about stuff, man. Because the thing about like talking about Saw and like Exorcists and all that, because these are newer stuff that do. Sorry, I'm, sorry, my tongue twisted. There's newer films, horror films coming out that we're looking forward to, and we're gonna be able to go out. We're gonna go see because they're coming out, and interesting to see what they do with it. And speculating and doing theories is a lot of fun because we come up with our own stuff, and we get we get excited about it. 'Cause like, oh, this would be cool, this would be cool, and that's really cool, and that's what we like doing. Like, we like talking about it. So, but when it comes to Saw, man, um, Wayne Turner, you said Spiral's okay. Um, I liked Spiral. Um, I like Spiral because it felt, it was still connected to Jigsaw, but it felt like a more different story, like set. It's in the same universe as Saw. It takes place, in another place. Um, like it's like a standalone in a way. Kind of felt like that. So, that's why I kind of liked it, because it was still connected to Jigsaw, but it still had like its own story to it. So that's just my thought, Wayne. Um, but I did like Spiral. It was pretty good.
I will say this about Spiral, and I'll leave it off for the Saw talk. Leave it here for the Saw talk for here for now. I personally think Spiral, even even better than Saw X's ending. To me, Spiral's ending is the number 3 best ending in the entire franchise. And it's because of why and how it played out. Basically, he set him up to watch his own father get killed right before his eyes because he had to go through that. To me, that 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 is just a crazy, is how it played out too. That is one of the best motives and best endings in the entire franchise, because not only is it brutal, but you feel for Samuel L. in that moment. You do. You feel sympathy. Like, you're like, holy shit, no. Like, wait, what? He's gonna make him watch his dad die like he had to watch his dad die. Wow. Like, and just Shank getting in the elevator and it's closing and he just puts his finger up to his lips and he's like, shh. To me, that was a great ending. I think that that's the third best ending in the entire franchise, behind the original and Saw 2 with the reveal of Amanda.
Yeah, and I like that there was a mystery behind it too.
Yup.
Whereas in the other ones, we already knew, the who the killer was. Um, and Spiral, there's a mystery, but also, yeah, I agree. Like the way it plays out at the end, what it does, it comes full circle. Like, he makes Chris Rock watch his dad die the same way he watched his dad die, and it's very poetic. You look at
Yes.
it's very poetic, and it's very clever. and
Yes.
it definitely leaves you like at not just a cliffhanger, but a very like what the fuck type moment. Like you're like,
Yes.
oh, bro, like, that was crazy. But uh, Shank, man, like so far, I know like he has to be working with somebody, but I'm pretty sure. But Shank was a good like killer.
I think
Like
so too.
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
get the hate. I don't. He was fucking smart too, man. Like the dialogue, like I like Shank. I think he's a good killer. You know what I mean? I really do. Was he super obvious, especially once they had the off-camera quote unquote kill? Yeah, I knew it was him at that point. But when you hear him speak and he explains why he's doing what he's doing and so on and so forth, you can hear that he actually has intellect. This was well thought out. This was well planned. Hmm.
he's very smart. Like
Now,
he,
to go back to what you said about him and cops or whatever, he even mentions how hard it was to get into the police, to become Zeke's partner. So he had to have somebody help him on the inside to make that happen.
it, yeah, it could be like you said, it could be Hoffman, man, because he's one of the only characters in the Saw franchise that is close to like accessing, precincts and stuff, like and being around cops and be able to like blend in with the police.
Right.
So and having a lot of resources because of the police. So I can see him working with Shank to do what he wanted to do. And like we said too, like Hoffman, he can get out. He can, even though like Gordon took away the saw, right? Threw it out. He can't reach it anymore. Just because he did that doesn't mean he can't escape because there's other stuff in the bathroom he can use to escape,
Right.
get himself out. And this could be in the Saw 12 if it takes place after Saw 3D, and we get to see like Gordon and photographer dude. Sorry, that was his name.
Adam, you're good, buddy. It's getting late, bro. It's about that time.
Yeah. Uh, but Adam, and then of course we get the reveal if they wanted to. They get the reveal at the end that Hoffman is still alive. He escaped, and he's working with Shank, and that's how it ends. Like he ends up working with Shank, and they go on and start to plan the spiral events. Maybe that will.
Right. I like it, man. I think it's very possible. I do. We're gonna have to wait and see as more details come out for Saw 11, what direction they're going with that one, and then after that one, we'll probably have a more clearer picture of what's going to happen for the next Saw installment.
Mhm.
Wayne saying spiral motive good, but the villain was way too obvious. I do agree. I do agree with that. Nanette saying, I thought you were going away and I knew you would still be there. I would have asked you about the first Omen, Marcus. I actually have to get caught up on that. I did hear about that. So probably later on in the week I will touch on that in the podcast. Um I don't know much about it right now because like I said, I just heard about it. But I do want to check it out. I heard it was supposed to be like a prequel or something to the original, something like that. That's what I'm hearing. So Nanette, let me gather some more information on it, and I'll probably have it available to talk about on Thursday's live stream on the podcast. That's when I'll aim to talk about it there. Because, like I said, I heard about it, but I haven't really done my research into it just yet. Wayne saying, I hope I hope I am wrong, but the first Omen looks terrible. Oh, well, I don't know if they got. I didn't know if they had a trailer out for it or what. So I'm gonna just have to check it out and see what's up. And the net says it is a prequel to the original Omen. Marcus. Okay, that's what I thought. Huh. That's fascinating. So I guess that means no Damien.
It sounds like if this is going to be a prequel and it's called The First Omen, I'm assuming that there was an Antichrist before Damien. Maybe maybe
Oh,
maybe there was an Antichrist that was born, you know, before Damien, and he tried to take over the world, and then he ended up failing, and then that's when they tried again with Damien. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
huh. Okay. Wayne's saying he's seen the trailer and it looks bad. And I'm assuming, yeah, he said he is. So I'm assuming Damien is in the movie. Then how the fuck is this a prequel? Like, how old do they expect this kid to be? What, 3 or 4? Like, fucking. Oh, I'm gonna have to look at the trailer once we get off the stream. Now you guys have piqued my interest here in the chat. But all right, guys, we're going to touch on the last subject real quick that I do want to touch on, and then we are going to call it a night because it is getting fairly late. Well, it's fairly. It's getting fairly early. It's 3:36 here on the East Coast, but we still have 7 people watching, and that is amazing to me because it is a work night and it's a late night. So I greatly appreciate everybody who has stuck around and watched the inaugural episode of the Late Night Creep Horror Cast. And real quickly, I want to thank Dom for stopping in for the last hour or so, hanging out with me. You know what I mean? It's definitely been a fun time and a fun conversation. I'm glad you were able to make it, buddy.
No problem, man. Yeah, just I'm always like mostly I'm available whenever I'm available. I'm always gonna be on and chat and all that stuff, man. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Definitely got to put some more streams together. All right, so the last topic I have to talk about tonight is Jordan Peele's new movie titled GOAT. It's a sports themed horror movie that is going to be starring Marlon Wayans. Now, a lot of you guys, know Marlon from the Scary Movie franchise. You know him from, comedies and stuff like that. But he has also dipped his toes into horror, and he actually just came back to horror not too long ago with the Netflix horror movie The Curse of Bridge Hollow. That's something I'm going to have to watch. But apparently the movie will be a sports themed psychological horror tale from Monkey Paw and Universal, and the site notes that Justin Tipping of Kicks will direct the film. Deadline previews the project, based on a pitch by Zach Akers and Skip Bronke, centers on a promising young athlete who is invited to train with the team's retiring star. And then, so basically, I guess that's the premise of this new Jordan Peele movie, is that this promising young athlete is invited to train with a team's retiring star. Now, I'm just going off speculation from what I'm reading, but I'm going to assume that the retiring star might be more of a villain than what meets the eye. What do you think about this initially, Dom? And because we know what type of style Jordan Peele has. He's very, very unique. He has his own vision on what horror looks like. And I personally like his style. I liked Get Out. I liked Us. I didn't care for Nope too much, but it was still okay. It was still watchable. What is your take on this idea that Marlon Wayans is going to be starring in a sports themed psychological horror tale where it seems that, I mean, given that he's older, he could be the team's retiring star and somebody else could be the young athlete. one way or another, how do you think this is going to play out? And it's titled Goat, so that's interesting.
I think that the retiring star is not wanting to give up his position,
Mm-hmm.
so he's gonna try to make the newcomer's life a living hell. Kind of like in the way, like, Fatal Attraction, the Fan, like kind of those types of movies where,
Oh, The Fan, I like that. I love that movie. That's such a good movie.
yeah, where someone gets obsessed with somebody or tries to prevent them from achieving their goals. You're trying to live life.
Right.
That's what's gonna happen here. I'm assuming if Marlon Wayans is the retiring star, I'm assuming that he's gonna try to not have this newcomer come in and take his place.
You think what it could be is maybe this retiring star, he's like a killer, he's like a serial killer or something that nobody knows about, and this kid coming in and take his place, he could be trying to frame him for these murders.
That could work too, yeah.
I just got that vibe from it from what I'm reading. That could be something like that. I find it interesting that it's sports themed horror. I mean, when have we ever saw a sports themed horror movie? I can't recall a time.
No, the only like sports theme like cross genre is action. Do you remember the last Boy Scout with Bruce
Yes,
Willis?
yes.
Yeah, it's interesting because that movie, it was it's action sports movie, and and this one's also a sports movie but with horror. So it's another cross genre that they're doing. So yeah, we haven't seen one with horror yet. We've only seen one with action.
It's fascinating. That's why I wanted to bring it up here tonight on the stream because the name is it's a common name for what we use now for the greatest of all time. So I think that the title in itself is very unique. It's very catchy. It's very modern. But the whole sports theme horror, it's like we've never seen that before. So I wonder what sport they're going to be playing, and I wonder. I just wonder exactly like they say it's a psychological horror tale. So like I wonder if maybe this retiring player, because he feels threatened by this kid, it's not like he's out killing people, but maybe he, kind of does things to send warning shots at the new player to kind of get him to quit or leave the team, something like that. Like shit starts happening with the young athlete, and it's because of the retiring star, but the young athlete just don't know it yet.
Mhm.
Like it's interesting, man. Jordan has such a unique mind, and I'm really fascinated by how this is going to play out.
Yeah, man. He's a very talented writer director, especially with horror. Um, and and what I like about him is he really pushes the black horror genre. You know, I
Yeah.
he we see other black horror films like back in the day, like Tales from the Hood or um
Yes. Classics.
yeah, Death by Temptation. Just even Blackula and all that. I heard he was gonna do Blackula, but just I just want to mention that the old school black horror films, most of them are black exploitation, but he's really pushing the genre a lot.
Right.
Him producing Candyman, bringing that back and all that stuff. So he's really pushing the genre and making more of those types of films, which is good. I mean, which is awesome because we barely see any of that, nowadays.
That's true, especially with a sports theme aspect to it. Like, that's interesting. That's the most interesting thing about this new movie for me, because when I saw the article that, Jordan Peele's new movie has gotten an update, I'm thinking it's the People Under the Stairs remake that he's supposed to be doing. And then I see this, and it has Marlon Wayans in it. And I've never really seen Marlon Wayans in a serious role before. So I'm going to have to watch that Netflix movie that he just came out with and see what that's about and see what his range is like in terms of being a serious actor.
Yeah,
But
I
it's fascinating, and I'm on board with it because I fucking love Marlon Wayans. He's a legend.
yeah, Martin's a legend, and it's interesting. He was also in Bel Air, and he plays a
Yep.
serious role in that movie or that series. So I believe like because when you watch Training Day and it stars Denzel Washington and you hear that he plays a serious role like as a dirty cop and you're like
Yep.
you can't pull that off like this is Denzel like why would he do that and then you watch it and you see his performance and you're like I did not know he would pull that off. Damn, I really believe he's a scumbag that he's an evil person.
Yep.
So I think
Alonzo.
Martin is gonna do it.
Fucking Alonzo.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, that's a great example though. Because a lot of people, because we've gotten so accustomed to Denzel playing those inspirational roles that when he did that movie, Training Day, as a dirty cop Alonzo, he showed his range. He showed how great of an actor he was. You know, like that to me is one of my personal favorites because of how believable he was in that role. Like you watch Denzel in that movie, and it's like you forgot about the John Q's, you forgot about the Hurricanes, you forgot about the Dr. Quinns. He played that role like he'd been playing it his entire life. And I think that that's what I'm looking for in Marlon when I watch this Netflix movie from him, as well as when I watch this movie, because I will be watching this movie. I will be giving it a chance because I just like the whole sports themed horror psychological behind it. I want to see what this is about. Like it sounds so intriguing to me, especially being a sports fan. It's interesting, man. It really is.
Yeah, and I would like to see if there's any sports commentary in there about like toxic fans and you
Right,
know, uh, you know, coaches, like or like maybe bribes. Maybe there's, you know, they add an element where their coaches are being bribed or people are getting bribed to like say things like on the field. I'm not a huge like football fan, but like who are those guys like the refs? I think they call them.
referees.
Yeah, referees.
Yep.
They bribe them. They're like, hey, this is uh get a touchdown or whatever. Like just say get a touchdown. Here's a couple $1,000, and then they go they say it and that and give it a touchdown. Even though they do the replay, like that's not a touchdown, but they say it is, but it's already over with because they just said it right. So
Right.
maybe they'll go more into that type of element. It's not confirmed, but it'll be interesting to see
Right.
why these plays were called. You know what I'm saying? Like, why did they call these plays, even though it doesn't make sense? Like, he didn't get the touchdown, even make it past the line. You know what I'm saying? Maybe there's a
Right.
reason. So maybe they go into that a little bit.
Well, according to Wayne, it's supposed to be an American football, in a sport rumor to be American football in the movie. I kind of figured that that's what it would be because of the contact aspect of football.
Mhm.
That's interesting. That sounds like a fun time. I'm going to be keeping up on this. I want to know what this is going to lead into. It sounds like so much fun.
Yeah, I'm interested too, man. I want to see what they take this as
Right.
it right now.
It's definitely fascinating. And as more news comes out, I'll be sure to keep everyone updated on Goat, which is the new horror movie being produced by Jordan Peele and starring Marlon Wayans, which is going to be really interesting. That's right. Marlon was in Above the Rim. See, I haven't watched that so long.
Yeah, he was because yeah, in that movie there was a scene where he was trying to be funny and shit, right? He was trying to be Marlon around
Yeah,
Tupac. And Tupac was like, "Nah, bro, not now." And then he's like, and then he starts getting uncomfortable. He's like, "Huh? Like this is not the usual like type of like thing that happens around when I'm around you guys." And then he's like, "Bro, get out of here!" And he's just looking around and he's just scared and confused. And then he pushes him down. Tupac pushes him down, and he just
that's right. Yeah, he is the one that Tupac pushed down. That's right.
that was the one moment in the film where he was very serious. Like he was actually like confused, scared, and just being serious. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that. I'm gonna have to check that new Netflix movie out that he's got, and I'll have to rewatch Above the Rim again because, like I said, it's been so long since I watched it. Yeah, even Wayne saying that he's done. He said he will be great. He has done a few dramatic roles, great and all. Okay. That's great. Wayne says if movie is terrible, reviews will be using the heading garbage of all time. Well, let's hope that it's not garbage. I have a feeling that Jordan is gonna pleasantly surprise us with this movie based on what it is supposed to be, a sports themed horror movie. I think a lot of people will go into it like, that doesn't sound like appealing as a horror movie. And I think if there's anybody who can pull it off from a mental standpoint, it's Jordan because he just has such a unique mind for the horror genre. And I think he's going to do well. And I'm hoping Marlon does well. I'm going to have to do a watch party on that Netflix movie. Um, I'll probably schedule it for next Wednesday or Thursday. And if you're down, Dom, I'll send you the link and send you a message or whatever. You can come on, we can watch it.
Yeah, man, I'm down.
I'll see what Destin is doing as well.
Yeah.
But yes, I feel you, Nanette. I'm actually wrapping it up right now because it is getting late. We're almost at 4 o'clock in the morning here on the East Coast on this snowy night here in Pennsylvania. But again, I greatly appreciate everybody who stopped by here on YouTube, who hung out on Instagram, watching the inaugural episode of the Late Night Creep Horrorcast here with me on a Shot 'em Six Times YouTube horror movie channel. Dom, again, I greatly appreciate you coming in and keeping me company, having a great conversation about Saw, Scream, Goat, everything that we've touched on here, buddy. This was definitely a lot of fun. And we're definitely going to link up and do more streams together as the future goes forward for us, man. You know what I mean? I'm excited. I'm happy to be back here live streaming. I'm happy to have everything set in place. So it's just all about elevating from here, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
So before we head out, Dom, do you have anything that you want to plug for your channel? Speaking of which, if you happen to be a new viewer coming across I Shot 'em Six Times YouTube horror movie channel, shoot that like button, shoot that subscribe button, followed by the notification icon so you get all the latest content updates to the channel, as well as go follow my buddy Dominic St. Clair Studios on YouTube as well as on Instagram. You will love his content. He's got an amazing mind. And as you guys can tell here tonight, he's just a cool guy. And he's a cool guy to have a great conversation with. And he knows his horror.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just for the YouTube, yeah, it's Dominic Sinclair Studios, and yeah, my Instagram dominic.sinclair.80, and I have my own Facebook, which is Dominic Sinclair. So I have the three social medias there that you guys can follow. You can friend me and then subscribe, on my YouTube. So because I'll be posting content on there, I'm actually going to start doing more movie reviews on movies I
Sure.
watch. There's a bunch of movies on Tubi that are coming out, and they're on there that I'm going to start continue watching. So after I
Nice.
watch it, I'll do a video.
Hell yeah, man. I look forward to seeing those posts about these movies you're going to be covering, man. Tubi has so much shit. Like,
Yeah.
that's how I found Don't Hang Up. You know what I mean? So Tubi definitely does have some really good underrated gems that you will find there on their platform. I love watching Tubi movies. They're really good. But okay, everybody, let me get to these last few comments. Check you guys out. Nice. Wayne just subbed to you, Dom. Awesome. Thank you for that, Wayne.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
And Wayne, I always have to do this every time Wayne does this. Wayne says almost 8 p.m. Tuesday night here in Sydney, Australia. I love it when he gives us a timestamp. I love it. You know what I mean? It's just, I love that, man. Especially, coming from halfway across the world. Like, that's awesome to me. I mean, that's just so cool.
Yeah.
Yes, Nanette, you can message me later. Get a hold of me. I'll message you back. I'm sure you guys can tell I've been a little bit more active on my Instagram lately, and that's what I'm trying to do is, definitely get more active on Instagram and social media in general. All right, everybody. Once again, I greatly appreciate you guys all hanging out. This was definitely a lot of fun. And be sure to tune in actually in a few short hours at 9:30 a.m. I will be back at it again with the I Shot Him 6 Times horror movie podcast. I will be touching on A Wonderful Knife. I'll be giving my spoiler review for that. So if you have not seen A Wonderful Knife and don't want to be spoiled, just come in, drop a like, say hi anyway, and then maybe head out so you don't get spoiled. I will also be giving my spoiler review for Thanksgiving as well as for The Exorcist Believer. So once again, the stream is already up. Head over there, drop a like for me, and I will catch you guys at 9:30 in the morning. Dom, I will see you backstage here in a few short seconds, my friend. Have a great night, everybody. Get some rest.
Take care, everybody.
You are now watching I Shot Him 6 Times YouTube horror movie channel.
I shot him 6 times.